Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 289. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Get that one out there right away. Thank you guys for joining us. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V and Johnny tonight. We're going to set the drinking aside.
Speak for yourself, Terry Miller.
Okay, well.
I'm drinking some, I believe it's called Hayden Basil's whiskey.
Aren't you Irish?
Thank you, Colt Breck, who recommended it to me.
All right. Well, I'm going to set the drinking aside because I'm clearly the serious one here. And tonight, jam-packed show with a lot of exciting things going on, actually. We're going to have probably 3 or more guests that are going to all be bringing us some either updates or news or information, insight. I think any moment now, we're actually going to have our PDGA board president, Justin Menichelli. He's going to join us and talk to us a little bit about where things stand with the PDGA. Another huge announcement today talking about suspending. I know every day, but today suspending all PDGA sanctioned play of all kinds. I believe that's league and tournament play for at least the next 15 days, and then there'll be a reevaluation period, of course, right after that. Then we're going to check in. I think we're going to have Dustin and Hannah Leatherman join us and give us the winners from the Junior Grant Program. We had them on a few weeks ago talking about the application process, the amazing opportunity that it is. Tonight, they're going to talk to us and give us the winners and their names and probably a little bit about what went into that. So looking forward to having them. And then after them,
we're moving off of what we normally cover. We normally cover disc golf. We're going NASCAR.
Yes, that's not a bad idea. But we're going to check in with Colton Montgomery. And super excited. This will be Colton's first time on the show, probably long overdue. We typically check in.
We always say long overdue. What we really mean is they haven't won yet.
I know, and I was going to say we typically do check in or catch up with winners immediately after a large-scale event.
Yeah.
However, sometimes we veer from that trajectory as well. So the fact that we could have checked in with Colton anytime in the last few years would have been also still appropriate, but now's the best time
because he
just win. So
spoilers.
And even if he said, well, what are you going to do after this big win? He can't go to Disneyland or Disney World. He has to come to Smashbox now. Disney World's not even an option.
Nope.
So
that's what we planned.
Yeah, exactly. Forcing their hand to come join us. So Colton will be joining us here in what might be a jam-packed show. We may or may not hear from Dana after that, and we'll have other news, stories, updates, things going on, whether it's in the after show or not. I feel like there's going to be plenty going on here tonight. So we're waiting on Justin, who was all hot and bothered, ready to go, and now he's lost in Skype land. So hopefully he's out there, and we can get him dialed in, because just a few minutes ago he said he was good to go. I warned him 90 minutes ago. I said, we're live tonight, because he did ask to come on. I said, all right, let's do this.
Tuesday nights, that's when we do this?
I guess so. That's what I've been told.
Well, today I spent a little bit of time down here in the basement signing a bunch of our Patreon discs. There looked like there was, I don't know how many are in there, 115, 120, something like that. And I sat down here and I signed each and every one individually and made sure that I very carefully put them back in the box so that we have, so that everybody there has everything. You're getting a glove on?
I don't trust you.
You should. The scary part is he just has that glove handy.
I had these anyway.
He's had those for months.
Yes. Now, taking a look. This is actually, I did not open these myself when they came about, and I'm kind of joking about the glove, kind of not. I think when we get these all packed up, I'll take a few extra precautions, but here is a look at, I'm going to move that up there. Here's a look at our Patreon supporter disc. So we appreciate it. Sorry that it has taken us till this point to get them out, but,
better late than never.
We just wanted to make sure that you had them for the second half of sanctioned play this year, and they're going to be in time for that. So that's the good news.
Yes. So we'll be getting those shipped out. Hopefully, Terry's got a little bit of spare time now, and well, you're not going to throw down the mountain this weekend.
That is correct. That being one of the
was canceled today.
That along, of course, many other events kind of being in the crosshairs, we'll say. The PDGA had a stance of canceling and foregoing all of the large-scale events that we see on the National Tour and the Elite Series, the Pro Tour, so on and so forth. They had canceled them up into a certain deadline, and then today they kind of, I'll say, strengthened that stance and ultimately went to all PDGA sanctioning. So it doesn't appear that Justin, he's giving me this address, and I'm guessing that's what we've always used, but I'm going to send this over to you, Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah, just to be safe. I feel like that's what we've probably always used to connect with him.
I'm hoping so.
I'm not sure that this is should be any more difficult than the previous 2 or 3 times we've talked to him. We'll see if we can get that to work. So, of course, we'll be talking a lot about that. And now, as early as maybe tomorrow or the next day, another hot topic that we're gonna table for a larger, more in-depth discussion is I want to catch up with Nate Heinold. And from a board perspective and as a large-scale tournament director himself, there was a new policy that was also released that it goes with regard to player packs, tournament registrations, refunds, cancellations. There was a new policy that was either amended or enacted over the weekend, and we want to kind of dive into that. I feel like that in itself could be this ginormous topic, and I think maybe as early as tomorrow, you're going to find that Nate and I are going to have a conversation about that. So we didn't necessarily have it for tonight because we had so many other things going on here tonight. So look for that tomorrow. I'll make some post about it, and if we go live, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting conversation because there's so many invested parties as to large-scale tournaments and what that means when it comes to registrations, sanctioning fees, player packs, manufacturers, all of those types of things. So we're going to try Justin one more time, and if he's not there, we're going to give up on him, and we're going to move over to talking to Hannah and Dustin. We'll see if they're available. I'm going to see if they are ready to go. We're going to move them up in the time slot. Somebody check the show notes.
Oh, hold on. I need to make a bunch of adjustments.
Get out the whiteboard.
That's right.
Cross
Scratch
him
some
out.
things off. I mean, this is just...
That's how we do it. So if Dustin wants to call into us and says he's ready, gosh, we love those guests that are on it. They're fluid, ready to go, working equipment. I bet you any second now we're going to hear from Dustin and Hannah at Eagles Wings.
Schwebby says that the quality is way better on Twitch, and he's not the only person to say that. So that it's a little bit blurry on YouTube, and that Twitch comes in much clearer. I don't know what that's about, but obviously, everyone is welcome to visit us over on Twitch if you want a really nice, clear picture of Terry and I. Some people prefer blurry.
Depends. How many drinks in are you, Schwebby?
I prefer to drink until Terry's blurry. But
and congratulations, Schwebby, another victory, 16 in a row. He broke the PDGA. Let's be real. I mean,
they had to shut it down.
Yeah, they're like,
all right, Schwebby, he won. We're cutting it down.
We can't let him get to lucky 17. So, all right. Well, without further ado, I so graciously ready to go, just like that. They got moved up in the time slots. We are going to bring in from our digital green room, our Disc Baron digital green room. We have Hannah and Dustin Leatherman. Welcome, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Hold on one second. Let me bring him in.
There you are. Hi.
Hey guys, we're doing well. How are you?
Good. Short answer is good, but everybody is impacted by what's going on, and here you guys are doing, helping orchestrate this incredible giveaway, and I guess I got to ask, some of it might even be in limbo at this point, right?
Well, yeah, I guess if the tournaments are not run this summer, that would be part of it for sure. But we would certainly extend it to whatever, changes were made and make sure we, do something great for the kids.
All right. Well, so let's quickly recap what you guys exactly have going on. Give us the real quick rundown of why we're all here before we announce them.
So each year we work with Kids Disc Golf and Nate and Val Das, and we offer a junior grant. First year was 4 winners, and then it's worked up to 6 winners. And those kids get entry to either Junior Worlds or USJDGC and some travel money. And then we have a whole host of sponsors that give them some really cool things as well. Sponsors and also some touring players that give them both experiences and just some really cool things to go along with that. So we were on a month and a half ago or so talking about the applications opening, and we've been taking applications, and we had a good group of judges that kind of worked through those, and now we are ready to share who those are.
All right. Can you share the quantity of applicants you got? Or upwards or downwards of?
Yeah, I believe it was between 40 and 50 this year that we got. So it's a little bit of a challenging application process. They have to answer some essays or submit a video, and they have to do a number of things in the process, including laying out a project that they'll do for the year. So it's not a simple application process. Everybody works really hard on it. So I think that limits some of the numbers, but we were happy to get a good grouping, and we're excited about there's a lot of really good applications this year. So it was a difficult judging process, but we're excited about who we ended up with.
Well, and you guys told us you make it a little bit more difficult on purpose because you really want these guys to prove what they're going after and then get equally rewarded for it. So that's awesome. And then is this on par with a typical amount of applicants? Is this higher or lower than normal?
Yeah, this was right on par with what we've received the last couple of years. Kind of goes up and down a little bit. One thing we want to tell people, if they're listening, is to make sure to apply. Again, if you don't win tonight, we had at least 2, maybe 3 of the winners are applicants that actually got it or applied 3 years ago, and then last year, and then this year, and were selected this year after kind of doing more things and being, becoming more established in their disc golf community. So we'd encourage anybody that didn't get it. There were some people that were really close, and would love for everybody to do it again and continue to try. So I think sometimes people think, I didn't get selected this year, they won't select me next year. But we've had a number of cases over the years where people, don't get it one year but do get it the next. So we'd encourage everybody to do it again next year. And anybody that is, planning on playing Junior Worlds or USJDGC in 2021, we're planning on offering the grant again.
Awesome. Well, sometimes no just means not now, and that's a great reason to come back and give it a try the following year. So that's great.
Yeah.
And just one last clarification before you start announcing these winners. No one can win it more than once. Is that a fair statement? So you can't win it,
Correct.
3 or 5 years ago and then come back? Okay.
Yes. No one can win it, again. So we had some amazing winners that I think it would be tough to turn them down the next year. So we do that just to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. And we do at Junior Worlds a big reunion. Everybody gets invited to a meal at Pizza Ranch typically, and always a fun time. So we get to see everybody again.
Awesome. All right. We are ready. What kind of order did you put them in? Oh, you're going to say no order, right?
Yep, we didn't really put them in an order, unfortunately. Maybe it was alphabetical, I'm not sure. I had somebody create a graphic, and but let me really quick can I just mention the sponsors again?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love them.
So again, we consider Nate and Val and Kids Disc Golf partners in the grant. Them along with Eagles Wings offers the grant. But on top of that, all of these people are donating something to each of the 6 winners. So we have Dynamic Discs, Innova, the PDGA, who's a new sponsor this year, Discraft, Tina and Eric with Whale Pants, Paragon Disc Golf, Keen. We list SmashBoxx on here. You guys are always great supporters of the grant. Disc Golf Instruction with Will Schustrick, Foundation Disc Golf, and Jomez Pro were new sponsors this year. UDisc, Upper Park Designs, and Page Shoe. So all of them are contributing something to the winners, and we just are super grateful. That's one of our favorite things about it is, nobody's getting the main credit. Everybody just kind of pitches in and just does something cool for some of the best, juniors out there that are just not only playing well at a high level, but giving back to their disc golf communities.
Awesome. Yeah, and we hear that list continue to grow every year. And, of course, anything we can do to continue to help you guys and help the overall grant process and program, just what a beautiful thing that has been started. And we're excited to watch it grow every single year, and we'll keep pushing it as much as we can for you.
All right. We appreciate that. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Hannah. She's going to list our winners here.
Okay. Are you guys ready for this?
I don't know. Are we? Can anybody be ready?
I don't know. Okay, here we go. So our winners this year, we have Luke Callahan from Apopka, Florida, Uriah Kelly from Rochester, New Hampshire, Ava Meyer from Belton, Missouri, Shelby Cohen from Guntersville, Alabama, Zach Martin from Lexington, North Carolina, and Caleb Webster from Springfield, Tennessee. Congratulations to you all.
Incredible. Congratulations. I tried to jot them down as quickly as I could. I see 6 different states represented and a mixture of boys and girls, right?
Yes. Yep. So we don't give our judges like stipulations, but we do we do want to have a mix of boys and girls, and then also different age groups as well. So we have some, younger in the, I think, 10 and under, and then we have some that are, I think, playing 18 or 15. So all the way, spanning the age groups and making sure we have boys and girls represented. But besides that, we just tell the judges to pick your top 6, and then we go from there.
Wow, that is incredible. I'll be the first to admit I know for sure Ava,
Yep.
who has she always makes such an impression when she's at tournaments. She frequently will come up and have like some kind of a gift pack or something that she'll hand out to either players or media or whomever. She's always been so very gracious. She's one that I personally have run into, and I don't know if I know any of the other players yet, but I'm sure I'm going to run into them sometime this year probably, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely see them out there. And all of them are doing, some pretty cool projects, from running youth leagues to doing a clinic series at their schools. One's helping to finish up a course that him and his dad started. Ava is doing her thing that she would do anyway, of giving all the spotters and TDs gifts. So just really cool things. And, we'll try to highlight them as best we can.
That is awesome. Yeah, Ava specifically, again, I recall she gives out a packet of stuff. Sometimes it's very customized to who the person is.
Yes.
I think I watched her give Dixon Jowers some Dr. Pepper or something one time, knowing how much he likes it. And then one of the sayings on her giveaway was something about, "Thank you, you're the keys to our success," and it was a little keychain. And very, kids with puns. I mean, you got me right there already. So. That is very, very cool. Congratulations to all of the winners and all of the applicants. Like you said, they can apply again next year, assuming they're of age and meet all the other qualifications.
Yep, for sure.
Who was the worst qualification? I mean, who was the worst? No, I'm totally
they were all great.
Allison Miller. No. Terry's daughter.
All good.
All right. Anything else we need to catch up on with you guys? We're going to see these participants, of course, at those 2 events are going to have the opportunity to be at those 2 events, assuming they're going on. Anything else that we need to know from you guys?
No, I think that's it. Next time you have a slow show, have us back on and we'll tell you about Zambia. It was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
We had an awesome experience, and we'd love to fill you in on some of those details, but we know you got some important stuff to get to, so we'll let you get to that.
Well, that's also important, but like you said, we would definitely, hey, I think we're going to have some time in the next few
weeks. There
weeks.
might be some downtime. I'm not sure.
Yeah. We're ready to come on anytime. Just let us know.
Well, we very much appreciate. Thank you for orchestrating and being the backbone of this this incredible program, along with all the sponsors and the people that you mentioned. And we appreciate you guys heading up, and we appreciate you sharing the breaking news right here on Smashbox. We're glad to do it
every time.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
all right. Take care, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.
Night.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you.
And there we go. Hannah and Dustin joining us, giving us the scoop. That's the official. They didn't put it on a website earlier today.
Nope.
They didn't announce it on
It's how it should
Twitter.
be.
They're
Right
breaking
here.
that news right here.
Right
So
here.
super glad they could do so. It looks like also in just a moment here, we're going to have our PDGA board president. He's getting things together and ready to go. I don't know if he was taking a nap earlier or what he was doing, but it looks like hopefully he's ready, and he's got maybe not quite as exciting of news as we just heard, but
unfortunately not.
I think he's going to be able to give us some insight and some direction and maybe a little calmness of where we are with the PDGA and the policies and what we're looking at moving forward. So also coming in from our Disc Baron Digital Green Room, PDGA Board President Justin Menichelli.
Welcome, Justin. How you doing?
Hey,
Hey,
there?
Jerry. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for joining us. You also are on the East Coast, so we appreciate you and the Leathermans for staying up late to come join us.
Well, it's not like you got PDGA business to do anymore. I mean, they
Yeah.
shut everything down.
Yeah,
right?
what are you doing? Are you going to take a break? Take vacation? No?
I think you might be set to auto mute there, Justin, because suddenly your voice went away.
You're a little quiet, buddy.
Double check. Yeah, we had you for a second.
There we go.
Now you're back.
Whatever you did.
How's that?
That's way
much
better. All right, so you're not going on vacation, but you can provide a little bit of maybe calmness or direction or clarity. What do you got for us here from the PDGA?
Some optimism I think I can provide.
Okay.
But I'm kind of melancholy. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I feel sad still. I will.
So
It's a tough decision. I mean, the PDGA, for better or worse, depending on your aspect, I think it's for better personally, had to pull all sanctioning and the insurance and whatnot from every PDGA event for the next 15 or 2 weeks or 15 days, whatever you want to discuss, depending on what time it is, maybe what day it is at this point when you're listening to this.
Jackie Chen's like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and we have a lot of disappointed PDGA members, understandably.
So walk us through the last few days.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, walk us through the last few days because we were in WACO, and I arrived in WACO talking to Mo, who used to work at ESPN, is a big NBA guy, and I literally saw the announcement before he did. I said, oh, they just suspended the NBA season, and I said it nonchalantly. He did not take it that way. And then within 24 and 36 and 48 hours, major announcements from the PDGA at every turn. What was transpiring over these last few days when you guys were getting together and talking?
We were watching the same news you were, I think. I mean, it was one thing after the next. I mean, the NBA season canceled, the NCAA tournament canceled, the Masters. Of course, we keep a keen eye on our cousins, if you will, older cousins, grandparents. I don't know how you word it, but they postponed the Masters, and so it was, there was a feeling of helplessness, I think, for all of us.
So how did the PDGA come about the decision?
Just sad.
How did the PDGA come about the decision?
Well, I mean,
did they just kind of did
I
lawyers?
spent 8 of 12 hours on the phone, talking with the other members of the board of directors and talking with Joe Targaloff, who was talking with his key staff, and it was hard, man. It was tough. We felt like we had no choice.
Now,
And so it was a decision that we were in 100% agreement, all of us, everyone on the board and every one of the key staff. We all agreed that this was a very fluid, very dynamic situation, and so we just stayed in constant contact with each other for days, and we had to take the totality of all the stakeholders' interest. I mean, we had to think of everybody in the sport and outside the sport, and it felt inevitable to me that we would come to the same conclusion that many folks have.
Clearly, we're watching, like you said, all the major sports. I don't want to say domino, but they're all making their announcements. They're all making their decisions. Does that make it easier for us to act and be like the other major professional sports when we're following suit? Because sometimes we really bask in the idea of, hey, we're different. We're different than the other sports. We're outside primarily. We certainly don't have the spectator base as much as we'd love to have it. But we have all these other things going for us that make us different from the other major sports. I guess there is a lot of conflicting viewpoints there, isn't there?
Well, I mean, when it comes to, the tour and our events, I mean, there's a lot of travel going on. And there's this inevitable socialization that happens. I mean, you guys have been to a few disc golf tournaments in your day, right? There's a lot of folks there, and a lot of folks traveling to the event. And so this is a dynamic, fluid situation. So, early on we thought, well, we can postpone the big events in the next couple weeks. And when the recommendation was, 100 people or so. But, once the recommendations changed from the CDC and the World Health Organization and things, and once the numbers, because it's a numbers game, once the numbers got lower in terms of the suggested number of people that can get together in one place, I mean, there was nothing we could do especially with the folks traveling to events, and there's nothing we could do, really.
So, and as I say, I suppose it makes more sense for us to push these things out, a couple weeks, if not a couple months, with the major events, because we have all of our major players touring and moving and traveling around. That accommodations need to be made. We can't just it hurts our players for a month when you have to cancel or you get a penalty on a hotel room or a rental car or travel flight. Like, these are all things that really affect our players more so than in other sports.
I agree, and so we wanted to make the call as quickly as we could. For all the stakeholders, for the TDs, and for the PDGA staff that have to travel, and for the players, and for our members, and the fans. I mean, we wanted to make the call as quickly as we could, and I think we did.
So we don't have to go through every bullet point by any means, and I'm going to link it in the chat board right now. The PDGA has assembled an FAQ, so that's for both players and for tournament directors as to the things that everyone's asking, really. And again, we don't need to hash over every single one of those, but tell us a little bit about who collectively worked on that to put those questions and answers all together. Because I'm sure you guys were getting pounded from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have the best, hardest working staff I've ever been around, and so it was the PDGA staff. It was Joe Chargaloff, the executive director, and Mike Downs and Big Dog and Steve Hill and Steve Gantz and everybody, Mary, and the whole everyone was basically on high alert, and everyone was working overtime to put that together. I mean, they're the hardest working staff normally. And when, in a crisis, oh boy, we're working all day and night. My phone's ringing at 9 in the morning, and it's ringing at 9 at night, and I'm not anybody. I mean, these folks are constantly working.
what would you say is the number one thing, while we have you here tonight, what would you say is the number one either just fallacy or misconception, or just anything? What would you say is the number one or two things that you just would really love to clarify or put out there right now? Is there anything specific that you keep hearing and it's just dead wrong and you would love to address it? Is there anything at all? Or do you feel like it's all out there already?
Not really. Not really. I mean, you touched on it a little bit in terms of, well, why can't we host these events when, you know, a group of 4 or 5 people on a single card outdoors doesn't seem like a big deal or a big concern. But when you have folks traveling and you have this just inevitable socialization, even if we did everything we could, how's that? I mean, we didn't jump, you know, we didn't get on board right away and jump to any conclusions, and we waited for the CDC, and we tried to implement this, and it's been kind of this incremental announcements. If you look on our website, the announcements they've been incremental. It seems sudden because they've been incremental over only a couple days. We tried. We don't want to postpone events. We're the last folks that want to postpone events. So we didn't want to. Nobody wants to. There was nothing we could do.
Yeah. Okay.
So
There's nothing we could do. And I'm here to say that I'm, you know, and as the board president, I am sad, and I do feel helpless. But I am, at the same time, I am optimistic about the future of our sport.
Speaking of the future,
So-
we right now the prevailing thought is 2 weeks. We're going to take another look at it in 2 weeks. I have to ask, what are the odds? What do you foresee as a maybe someone on the inside or maybe even a casual observer? I don't know. Looking at other sports, how long do you feel this is going to last? Is it going to be a month? Is it going to be 2 months? What are we thinking?
I mean, you know, you guys know it. My PhD is in biomechanics and motor behavior. I'm not an expert on pandemics, so I have no idea. I don't know how long it's going to be. I hope I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful that it's going to be a month and things will flatten the curve. I mean, you know, you guys took statistics. How'd you do in your statistics class? I mean,
It was a long time ago. I don't
you know
remember.
what a curve is? I mean, is the curve going to flatten out? I don't know. It is, but when is that going to happen? I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask an expert for that. And so all we can do is listen to the experts and hear what they have to say, and which is what we've done. And all we can do is do that and then be hopeful and optimistic. I'm hopeful.
So, has there been any talks behind the scenes about Worlds? I mean, everybody's talking about the majors and Worlds. It's coming up. It's earlier this year, unfortunately, than almost any other year. We're looking at mid-June, which, I mean, I think for a lot of us are thinking that might be best case scenario. If it doesn't happen in June, can the club push it back? Is that something that then maybe we can bring over to the IDGC? What type of scenarios are we maybe looking at?
We haven't talked about Worlds in mid-June yet. We haven't talked about Mike Downs' wedding in mid-June yet either, but I hope they both go on. A little shout out there to Mike and Whitney. We're going to do whatever it takes. If we have to postpone events and reschedule, then we, meaning the PDGA, will do whatever it takes. And the PDGA staff, again, then I want to say they're awesome. Every one of them, they're going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
If we have to postpone events, and I'm hoping we just have a late season, if you will.
Well, and I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from what we saw with regard specifically to the Masters announcement. And there was, dare I say, a sigh of relief because the word postponed was used as opposed to, and I'm talking about the Masters in golf, the word postponed was used instead of canceled. And I feel like, I'll just say from what I've seen and read and talking to you, we're very fluid. We're very flexible. The PDGA is, and tournaments and the stakeholders and players to some degree are all going to be fluid and flexible, and some events may legitimately get canceled and just not exist in the 2020 season, and some may get pushed to another weekend. And all of that's in limbo, and unfortunately that's a big non-answer, but that's just what we're going to have to deal with. Everyone's going to be a little more fluid, and I've already told my family, if you thought last fall was busy, this fall's going to probably be way busier because there's probably going to be tournaments stacking on top of tournaments, and everyone's going to just do the best we can, hopefully come mid to late part of the season.
Yeah, I mean, GBO has already announced that they can't reschedule. It's not possible for that particular event, but I'm sure every event, whether it's a small regional C tier or maybe one of our bigger NTs, might be a little more flexible. It's just going to be on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm.
And so to kind of wrap this up, Justin.
That was so sad, GBO.
Yeah, I mean,
so are we, all of us. I mean, not only from a broadcasting perspective, because we had plans and we had everything. We were really excited about getting to GBO, but on top of that, it is one of our favorite events to travel to and go to and visit. So, I mean, all the events are special in some way, but GBO has that extra shine to it for us.
So I guess to kind of put it together in a bow, A, we got to be patient. B, we're going to continue to watch what all the experts say, not the Facebook experts, but real ones. And then C, the PDGA, like the tournaments, are going to continue to be flexible. You're going to see postponements. You're going to see cancels. And I think even a good clarifying note out there is, if your event that you're going to go to and the TD cancels it, the TD is going to work with the refund policy, whatever that might be in their situation, and the TD themselves can even hopefully recoup. They'll be able to recoup their sanctioning cost. They'll be able to recoup their insurance costs that they've paid to the PDGA. So everybody is trying to work together to have it disrupt as little as possible, as much as it's still going to be. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair.
Okay. All right, Joe. Well, sorry, I just called you Joe. Justin.
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 He doesn't want Joe's job right now.
No.
Not at all.
I know. Actually, I had a question about Joe in my head.
No, I do not.
I know.
Nobody does.
And it's funny. That's exactly what I was thinking, something about Joe. But I guess the best we can do is check back in with you and continue to push out the PDGA notes as they unfold over the next few weeks. Is I guess that's all we can do, right? On our end.
Yeah, and I think are you still doing the Facebook Live thing with Nate Heinold tomorrow to talk about some specific stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Whether that's
tomorrow,
that's
cool. We owe you guys a lot. I think we owe you guys a lot for all that you do. Terry and I talked, Johnny, I probably kept him on the phone too long, telling him how great he was. But it's times like this, it makes me feel like I'm very gracious. I'm very thankful to folks like you guys for doing all that you do for the sport, and I'm very optimistic. And I want to lead with this, that I went out to our local course yesterday, drove by it today. It was packed. It was packed with families of disc golfers. Now, the college students are gone. Mm-hmm. Like all the college students, I'm a professor, and they're all gone. They all went home because our classes have been canceled. Our face-to-face classes have been canceled and put online, and the students were told to leave campus. So the college course has got a few people on it, but not many. The local little pitch and pot kind of course yesterday was packed with families. And so for me to see families with their little kids, mine included, I have 3 kids, they've never played so much disc golf. I mean, because we have to stay, we have to stay together as a family and not really branch out and get together with large groups of people. So you just see these clusters of families out on the disc golf course with little kids. And I know some of those families, and I know they don't often play disc golf, but they're getting outside in the fresh air and spending time together as a family because their kids aren't in school, because the adults, they're in some cases they're not at work. And so they're all out together as families playing disc golf. So I'm very optimistic for the future of our sport for sure, and for our organization. We're going to play some competitive disc golf, man. It's going to be awesome. So
I agree,
and we'll be there to announce and talk about it when it happens. I mean, not that we're going to go anywhere while it doesn't. We'll be here every Tuesday night, folks. Don't worry, I promise. You're going to get your Smashbox fill. We'll find Terry and I can always find something to talk about, whether it's disc golf related. If we have to go right to the after show, we might do that. But
yeah, and like you said about the families, playing, you getting the chance to play with your family. My daughters, can ship anywhere from 6 to 10 discs a week, and now they're home, so that they're going to have a minimum of 100, 200 discs a week.
No child labor laws inside the house.
It's all disc golf for my daughters, let me tell you. Even if that means taping and folding boxes and shipping out discs.
Oh, they will be.
All right, Justin, on a serious note, we do appreciate
everything you do.
Yeah, everything you're doing,
and the
insight and the board, and we know no easy decisions were made, and you guys were very thoughtful. And as a sport and as a Frisbee family, we're going to keep pushing forward, and everyone's going to do the best we can. And we're glad that the PDGA is, in fact, looking out for everyone's best interest, even if short term some people are a little frustrated with that, but it's for the greater cause.
Thank you. Well said, Terry. Thank you. Thank you,
right.
Johnny.
Yep.
All right,
course.
Justin.
All right.
Appreciate it. Have a good
great
night.
Get some sleep, and get back on those 10-hour conference calls tomorrow.
Good luck.
Get disc golf back. All right. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night. See ya.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right. As we said, Justin Menichelli joining us. And, and I did talk to him just before the show. And as he showed us, he's definitely distraught because he even though he's not a competitive weekend, week-out tournament player, it weighs heavily on everyone.
Well, it has to,
and yeah,
it's so tough. It's really, it's a it's a double-sided sword. What he's talking about, in that it's great to see all these families out playing disc golf, but on the other hand, if the courses are packed, that is
the opposite of what we want.
It's the opposite of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Milwaukee County actually shut down all the disc golf, and dog parks. So in Milwaukee County now, we cannot go play disc golf. We would have to go to one of the other nearby park systems, which odds are, if this gets any worse, they're probably going to shut down as well. My wife took a walk through the park with the kids today, because obviously all the kids are home from school, as I think they probably are in most states, but for sure in Wisconsin. And it's tough. It's tough for everybody. It's just not much more to say. All
right. Well, we are going to welcome a new champion guest here to the show. I'm going to tell him to call in, or actually we're going to call him, it sounds like.
Give him a call.
We ring him right up. We're going to keep these interviews rolling here tonight. And in just a few moments, when he's all ready to go, we're going to get some fresh insights from our champion on again, a crazy weekend, and we can get more into his thought process and what happened as it unfolded. And coming in from our Disc Baron Digital Green Room, our WACO Annual Charity Open champion, Colton Montgomery. How are we doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Well, I mean, I think right now everybody could be doing a little better with the state of how disc golf is, but for what we got you on the show. We had a great event this past weekend. Good live broadcast, great drama. We got to see, everyone got to see Brodie for the first time, all that fun stuff. Other than the future, the past looks great.
Do you wish you would have won a shorter name tournament so it was easier to spit out?
No, I actually love WACO because the acronyms and everything, it seems so perfect.
It really does. So for those who may not know, I know Johnny just realized this. WACO Annual Charity Open also spells WACO. That's on purpose, folks. So
I just noticed it this year. Yeah.
Again, congratulations, and our viewers had a special situation because you were on that chase card, and that comes with not only different set of eyeballs from the live viewership perspective and post production, but just different pressures and slightly different situations. But then again, there were almost no gallery anyway. So kind of walk us through like how strange or eerie or what the feelings were.
It was definitely a very strange, eerie feeling. Funny that you say that because on the first hole, we were walking down the fairway and I looked at James Conrad and I was like, man, it's kind of weird being on chase card, first hole, having your name announced and no one's there to clap or cheer or anything like that. And his girlfriend was like, I cheered for you. So, yeah, it was definitely different not having a crowd following and having very minimal group to watch.
Yeah, at one point, a few spectators, I'll flat out say, snuck or bullied themselves their way onto the course. But at one point on the lead card, halfway through the round, there was about 12 spectators and 6 cameramen and about 5 or 6, we'll say, caddy/players. It was really just strange, and obviously the same on that chase card. We talked right after the tournament, and you were saying you didn't know your score. We've talked to Sarah Holcomb, who that has, she's admitted, has kind of burned her in the past, and some players say that's the only way they play. Walk us through your thought process when you're checking scores or not.
I actually, you know this already, but I didn't have my phone on all round. It was on airplane mode, and that's a different mode. I don't typically do that. I typically have my phone on me all the time, checking scores, seeing where I'm at. And I think this weekend I kind of proved that maybe I should put the phone away and just play my game and not worry about the scores during the round.
Is that the number one thing you worry about? Or, I see other players who might be on their phone, but they're flipping through Instagram, they're playing Sudoku, they're doing all sorts of other things. Are scores the number one thing you're normally looking at?
Don't get me wrong, I definitely scroll through Instagram, Facebook, all that type of stuff, but I got to be honest, most of the time I take myself to the UDisc app, and that's where most of my time when I'm on my phone on the course is spent. So
when you're looking at UDisc, we're going to dial down one more for Matt and Josh here. I see Paul, for instance, Macbeth, like literally looking at his own stats sometimes, like inside the circle, outside the circle. Are you looking at stats, or are you looking at just other players and what they're shooting? What are some of the things, or is it everything that you consume?
During the round, it's just my score relative to everybody else. Obviously, after the rounds, I like to go through and see how I putted, how many fairways I hit, and kind of see how I ranked in the field.
And when you do that, do you ever are like, no, wait a minute, I definitely hit more fairways than that. Who is keeping my scores? Do you ever second guess any of your stats or think about them?
You cut out just a little bit there. I didn't hear that middle part.
I was asking if do you ever second guess anything you see? Like, no, I swear I hit 14 out of 18 fairways, or, there's no way I was inside or outside of a circle or something like that. Do you ever second guess any of the stats? Do you pay that close attention yourself?
Absolutely. I think us as players, we know if we've got an inside the circle look or an outside the circle look. So, here and there I'll notice, man, I was a foot outside the circle there where UDisc says I was inside. But that's not really a big deal. That's something pretty easy to brush off.
Did we, as the live viewers, were able to catch up to you I think it was on hole 15 or 14, we were able to finally really get a good view of what was going on your card on that second and unfortunately final round. Well, fortunate for you, final round. And the cameras moved over to you. Did you notice that at all? I mean, did that affect you? Did you have that in the back of your head that, oh gosh, the cameras are on me. Clearly something's going on.
I mean, I definitely noticed when people started showing up, you know, Alyssa taking photos, the live coverage camera. I obviously knew that. It was a thought in the back of my head, but I just tried not to focus on it. I felt like there was so many other things, good or bad, you know, with the news of the coronavirus and the season being suspended. That was honestly what my mind kept going back to throughout the round.
Do you think that helped you? Do you think that distraction helped you out on the course as opposed to thinking about the play, the shots, the cameras, the photographers?
I would like to think that my card mates had more of an impact on keeping the mood light or keeping my mind off of disc golf than the bad news, you know, with James and Philo and Kale throughout the whole entire round. We were able to encourage each other, and it really felt like a practice round out there. So I think that's a big part of my success this past weekend.
You just named those three gentlemen who might be three of the most chill, laid-back gentlemen you could ever be on a card with. Is there any chance it was? I mean, you played well, but is it possible it could be almost too chill or relaxing? Like not enough intensity? Is that ever possible?
I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility, but you know, in my opinion, I think it's important on my cards to like try and keep the mood light. You know, if you see a good shot, to let someone know, hey, nice shot. You know, and yeah, I think that's really important. And all of four of us as a group, it was just nothing but great times, good camaraderie throughout the whole round. So yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Philo and James Conrad and Kale for the awesome round, one that I won't forget forever. So
speaking of that, it's safe to say this is your largest victory to date, right? Would you argue with that?
No, I definitely think this is the biggest win to date.
What does that mean for you as a player, as an ambassador, as an instructor, as a full-time touring player? What does a title like this mean to you?
It means the world. It's kind of crazy how in the span of just a couple days, I personally feel like my life has kind of honestly changed. You know, there's been times a couple of years ago or last year where I've made it onto filmed cards, but I haven't really put together a round like that. And to be the best players to play the game, the top players, you know, currently, that put my name up there for other people to see that might not have seen my name before. So I think that's huge.
Yeah. Other than Team Hot Cocoa, who do you think was the most excited for you on the course? Because after you hit that final putt, everybody was congratulating you. I think I saw Jordan Castro come over with his phone, like shove it in his face, and like, look at this. And everybody seemed to be so excited for you.
Yes. Man, that's such a hard question. And, you know, I feel like putting one name out there will hurt people's feelings. So I want to give a couple shout outs to Garrett Girthy. He's been a huge support just all this year, you know, sending me nice messages. He shared my Instagram post I made the morning of the final round. Nico Castro, he's been someone, honestly, that before I became a professional disc golfer that I looked up to, and he was there when I won my first A tier in the Open division 3 years ago now at the 303 Open. He was one of the first people to come up and congratulate me. And right after I won, he took a disc out of his bag and was like, I want you to sign this. It's going in my bag. So, you know, like having top level pros reach out to me, there's been countless of them. And, you know, that means the world to me. That means so much to me, having people that I've looked up to when I was younger reach out to me and say congrats or good job, knew you could do it. And then obviously my parents, huge support. And then lastly, my brother. My brother works for Discmania. He got me involved into the game 12 years ago at a very young age. And without my brother Austin, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, the excitement, like Johnny was saying, and I shared with you when we talked at the end of the tournament about Double G feeling something a little special as well, and really looking up to your post and the vibe that you were giving off that day. I know this is kind of a weird question, but assuming you have the solid finish you do there, would your confidence carried you into another round? Would you have cared about playing another round? And I know you kind of put it all on the table that day and on the course, but you clearly had the course dialed in, clearly feeling good about it. What do you think a third day would have been like?
I would have liked to play the third day to just experience it, because I felt like my game was pretty on point this past weekend. Like you said, I think I had the course pretty dialed in. The first round, I actually shot 8 down on the first 9 holes. And then, second day shooting 9 down on the last 9 holes. I definitely was feeling it this weekend. And it would have been really cool to continue that on and just try and stay as consistent as possible.
And someone is asking out on the board right now is... I was gonna say, do you like the openness or the wooded part? I don't know if there's an answer to that, but then in addition to that question would be, is there a favorite hole out there or a stretch of holes that you really do love?
I'm known, I think, for throwing far and being like a big bomber. But I really like the wooded part of WACO. I think it just adds a different element to that course, and it makes that course what it is. If it was 13 holes or 15 holes in the open and then a few in the woods, I don't think it would be obviously nearly the same course. So having those, they call it the beast back 9 for a reason. So I definitely like the wooded part of that course. As far as favorite stretch, I think like 10 through 13 are probably my favorite stretch of holes on the course.
Okay. Now that we are, and obviously we just talked to Justin Menichelli, and you guys were all privy to the news as it all unfolded day after day after day. What was your initial reaction? I mean, I think back to Wednesday night. You see the NBA, Wednesday or Thursday night. Wednesday night, the NBA. What were some of your thought process as each day we were confronted with a new world?
I was a little shocked that it came out so soon. The news came out so soon. I told Kona that I had a feeling Saturday after the final round, that Sunday, I thought that PDGA might come out with a statement that, hey, PDGA events are canceled for the foreseeable future. So it was a little bit shocking to get that news before, I guess, what I thought we would get. And it took, I didn't tee off till 1:50 on Friday. And it at first Kona and I were like, man, what are we going to do? Where do we go? We had a conversation, I was like, if tournaments are going to be canceled, it might be time for me to go get a real job to make sure that I can afford to make car payments and insurance payments and stuff like that. And then I sat down and made an Instagram post and kind of just like put myself out there, how I felt. And as I'm not ashamed to admit this, but as I was typing it up, I kind of teared up a little bit, just kind of like I said in my post. It's kind of crazy that your job or career can all of a sudden come to a screeching halt, especially the disc golf community. I never really thought it would get to that point. I do think the PDGA has made the right decision, but it's just surreal and crazy feeling to have everything you've worked for kind of just come to a screeching halt.
So what are your plans now? We have a month and a half, or so to speak, or to to figure things out. What do you plan on doing?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm currently in Kerrville, Texas, at Kona's grandmother's house, and we are kind of laying low here for the moment, getting some putts in when we can, maybe going to the course here and there. But for the next month and a half, however long I stay here, it's pretty much going to be the same wherever we're at. It's just, I'm kind of going to go back to what I did in the off season. I spent a lot of time practicing this off season, a lot of time working on the forehand, the putt, all aspects of my game. And I think I'm just going to go back to where I left off and just continue practicing really hard, because this weekend and winning, it motivated me even more. It motivated me that I know I can compete at this level, and I proved it to myself. And I just want to keep working hard and putting in the hard work, because it's paying off, in my opinion.
So I want to ask you a little bit about the future quick. Are you prepared to keep this look forever? You are now, with all the memes that are out there, everybody is putting Photoshop things of you and Dale or Dale Jr. Like, you have an established style at this point now. What are you keeping it?
You're just gonna own it?
Just gonna own it, or is this just a passing phase?
Nope, I'm gonna own this 100%.
And you're a big race fan, right?
I am. Kona and I actually went to 2 NASCAR races last year. So yeah, I'm a huge race fan. Kind of grew up around it. I loved your little comment to start. We're not just covering disc golf tonight. We're gonna jump into some NASCAR. I got a good kick out of that. But no, I called my brother after the round, and he's like, "Bro," he says, "everybody loves that stupid long hair you've got and that mustache that you're rocking."
The only way a brother can put it, right? Everyone loves your stupid look.
Yeah.
Exactly. We all know he's just jealous that he can't grow long hair like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to fully embrace it. And I do want to say one thing. There was a meme that came out of Dale Earnhardt when he was younger, and it really, really looks photoshopped. And my mom even took a screenshot of it, and she's like, "Is this you? Did someone screenshot it or Photoshop it?" And then I did a double take, and I looked, man, that looks so much like me. And I had to go find the original picture. So for anyone thinks that photo was Photoshopped, that's a real Dale Earnhardt photo.
I think it was you that brought that. I think maybe showed me that one. It was like, Terry's like, look at this.
Yeah.
It is so good. And
I guess we already know what Halloween you've got locked in for the next few years. That's for sure. The outpouring of people and love and support you talked about, what was it like? Because Kona was out on the course, obviously.
Shooting well herself.
Yeah, exactly. But then when I saw her, I think, I don't know, I kind of backtracked to go find the women's division right after that, and she was still alone. You weren't near her. Did you have a conscious decision to not overamp her, or what? Like, how did that unfold, and when did you guys have that conversation or realization of what you did and her still playing?
After things kind of settled down after my round, I looked at UDisc, and I saw that she was currently in a tie for 3rd place, and I didn't want to I wanted her to focus on her game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want me to show up to her round and it be all about me, because she still had work to do. So I didn't want to bug her on the course. Her text messages actually got lost in the hundreds of text messages that I had. And she actually knew that I won and was like super happy. And then she texted me and she's like, "Hello." And then I opened it. Didn't even know. Like, if I knew that she knew that I won, I probably would have gone and walked with her a little bit. But when she got done with hole 16, I was standing right by the van. And that's where we kind of had our moment together to soak it all in.
That's all. And I assume you were just standing there. You had chains that you cut off a previous basket, and then that was wrapped around to make a necklace of that trophy just hanging there like Flavor Flav.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, I did all right, and your trophy's
You're
just
just
hanging
sitting there with it in your arm. That's what I picture. Like, how'd you do? I did all right. How about you? You got a couple more holes to finish up.
Yeah. Now, of course, you guys have been touring together, grinding, putting on clinics, and active on social media and all of those things. What an exciting moment, and sharing that and having both of you having great weekends. I mean, it maybe feels a little bittersweet that then abruptly, here we are Friday night, things then end for you in terms of the actual tour. What were some of the things you guys reflected on from this weekend between the two of you? Both great weekends.
Man, that's a good question. I I don't really know. It was kind of like, I mean, a pretty laid back, just kind of like we went back to normal, like, yeah, I honestly don't really have a good answer.
No, that's all right. I mean, if things were that chill, it was probably just living in that euphoria of sorts, and I think that's great. Kona, as we've referenced her now countless times, finishes in what I believe is a tie for fifth. Was there a three-way tie for fifth?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm seeing. So, again, no one wants to end their tour, but to collect two bigger paychecks as you're on your way out, that's got to feel a little bit better as well.
No, absolutely. Feel very fortunate. I was worried going into the weekend what I was going to do after this weekend, but now there's not really any worries. I'm just going to keep practicing, and whenever disc golf tour resumes, Kona and I will be there to compete.
So I'm going to make up a hypothetical and say we know for certain, this is all hypothetical, that you're not playing a sanctioned tournament for 10 weeks. I'm going to make up a number. Hopefully it's not that long, but let's call it 10 weeks. If tomorrow someone could call you and say, hey, I've got this job that's 8 weeks long and it pays decent, what anyone would consider decent, what would that job be for you? What would you want it to be? If somebody's got a dream 8-week gig. Yeah. If somebody had a dream 8-week gig, what would that be for you?
That's tough because I feel like I would take but anything. You're at any job.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. I just won, and now this guy's calling me saying, or girl is calling me saying they've got an 8-week gig that pays well, that I work 30 to 40 hours a week, and here's what I'm doing. What would that be?
I think it's only appropriate to say drive in a race car.
Okay.
That's right. They need.
Yeah.
There's a lot of small courses that can drive. I mean, I don't necessarily think he's going to make right to NASCAR, but we could probably go with one of the lower tier tours.
How about, okay, I'll take it a step further and say next week Vegas calls up. Someone in Vegas calls up and says, hey, we've got this gig. You're going to be a driver in like these high speed fun experience things, and you're the driver, and someone then comes along with you and we pay you to do that. You'd be all over that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'd love it.
How much experience, maybe here's the follow-up. How much experience do you have driving?
Well, driving a van and an RV.
No, not your RV or your van. Actual, like, anything on a track. How about that?
Absolutely none.
Okay.
Good enough. Well,
sign them up.
I play a lot of racing games, though.
Oh, well, yeah.
That's stay low in the corners, high on the straightaways.
Absolutely. Johnny V's played a lot of Dr. Mario. That's why I'm going to him with all the coronavirus questions.
That's true. I'm really good at Dr. Mario, and I'm good at Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could basically be a racing doctor. So Terry and I have talked about other podcasts that we want to do. One of the podcasts we've talked about is job related. What was the first job you ever had?
The first job I ever had.
First one
ever was at Pizza Hut.
Like
delivery? Tell me it was delivery at least.
It was not. I wasn't old enough at the time to deliver pizzas. So I answered phones, But I hardly consider that a first job because I was there for like 3 weeks or a month, and then a family friend needed help at their nut and bolt shop, and that's the job that I held for 5 years of my life. So
And for those that don't know, when did you guys go on tour full time, and then what kind of made that decision for you?
well, I first went on tour in 2017, and starting in about August, and that was with Simon Lizotte. That was my first opportunity to drive the Discmania RV, meet Simon, and kind of finish the end of 2017 season. Going into the 2017 season, I had a lot of talks with my mom and dad about, hey, I think I can make this work. I'd love to go tour. Just, I more presented it as like a dream. Like I want to do this before I'm 40 or 50 or 60 years old and look back and say, what if I did tour? So I always tried to push that on my parents. And then it was when I won the 303 Open, I think my mom was like, okay, like I think that that's maybe a pretty good idea. So Discmania had an opening end of 2017. So I did that all with Simon. And then in 2018, I was also in the Discmania RV with Bart Kovalevsky, one of my good friends from Ohio. And Kona joined us for part of that tour. And then that was about the 6th year of the Discmania RV being on the road. And it was kind of time to retire it for the time being. So I went out and purchased a Ford Transit van, and Kona and I built it out, and that's what we've been in for the 2019 and 2020 season. So,
and it goes by the Freak, is that right? The Freak, one of the most colorful and exotic of the designs that are out there. I love seeing it. So, talk a little bit about that RV lifestyle, that that kind of the community that we've seen the disc golfers build as they're building out more and more vans or RVs and traveling that way. How's that lifestyle been for you? I know there's a kind of in the van feature with you guys as well that was done a year or two ago, but how's that lifestyle been for you?
Honestly, it's awesome. Being able to travel around the country, doing what you love with somebody that you love. I mean, I don't think there's anything in life that really gets better than that. We're always right next to each other, always a really good support system. And, a lot of people that aren't disc golfers might think what we do is really weird, like showering at a gym or showering at Planet Fitnesses or Flying J's or, however we can get it. Being kind of not necessarily crammed, but like in a pretty small space. But I don't think her or I would trade it for the world.
So, what has been the number one challenge that you can share with us? What do you feel like has been the number one challenge, though? And have you gotten over it, or are you guys still working through that, whatever it is?
In my opinion,
you're the one being interviewed. It's only your opinion that counts.
Here's a more serious one, and then I'll have a funnier one. I think one of the hardest parts about being on tour is not knowing sometimes where you're going to park, where you're going to sleep. During the off season, you spend 3 months, most people in the same spot, and you have a bed. You know where you're going to go to sleep every night. You know where food is, at all times. And I think one of the hardest parts is the beginning of the season, going back out on the road and not having that stability that you're used to having back home.
Okay, that makes perfect sense, and I know there's a little bit of a caravan approach where you guys sometimes will share with each other like, oh, I think we're all going to be at this RV campground for the weekend, or this campground is great, or stay away from that one. I think you guys share that information from time to time, and then sometimes it feels like you get to a city and you have a relative or you have a fan that maybe you stayed at their house last year, and then you kind of have that interaction. So I'm sure every weekend it's just a little bit different for you.
Absolutely. And and I are really ones that get RV parks. We kind of like to do the stealth camping. So most of the places that have other disc golfers.
Sorry, you got a little choppy on us for a second. I don't know if we're losing your signal here. You said that you go a little more stealth and don't necessarily seek out the campgrounds?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did lose you for a second. Yeah, we don't really do campgrounds. We kind of like to do the stealth mode and try and not this sounds bad, but we kind of just try and stay away from the disc golfers. We try and like not make it obvious that we're sleeping in a van. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so what's the
more fun division or challenge?
I need a better way to organize shoes.
I was gonna get shoes.
We have like 30 pairs of shoes in the van.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe 20 of them are mine, but yeah, if anyone has any tips on how to add some storage for shoes in a van, let me know.
Now, is it the actual size and proximity of the shoes and the space, or is it something to do with maybe odor and containing that? I mean, you guys are playing in all sorts of conditions.
Yes, we definitely don't keep shoes that we wear for a tournament near to us. They're in.
Now, Adidas has been very gracious. I know with a lot of disc golfers. I know they've Chris Brophy has been a great conduit there, and Kona and Innova have worked very closely with them. Is that pretty much the shoe of choice for both of you?
Absolutely. I think, well, for me, all of my shoes that I wear for disc golf are Adidas. And obviously, same for Kona, as she's one of their sponsored athletes.
So, again, we're going to go back to this make-believe world, but let's say everything, the hiatus ends as quickly as it can. And right now, we're at least talking the beginning of May. So Mother's Day weekend, roughly, or which is the women's global event weekend, right around May 9th and 10th. Let's just say everything goes as good as it can, and that's the start of the season. They just mentioned that Masters Cup is actually going to be canceled out in California. Knowing maybe that, where do you guys see yourself? If the season is a go, where do you see yourself, and what would be the first event?
See, that's a tough question, because Kona and I have talked about this, and I guess without knowing when tour is starting back up, it's kind of hard to say where we're going to spend our off season. You know, like
Okay.
if U.S. Women's ends up getting canceled and our next tournament is the World Championships, it doesn't make sense to drive from Colorado or from Texas to Colorado to see my family and then to my phone's gonna die.
No worries.
Get it plugged in.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Depending where the season starts up again is kind of going to be dependent on where we go. And unfortunately, I know we might not have an answer for that for a while, but if it's Worlds in Utah, we'll probably hang out in Colorado for a little bit and then make our way down to Utah. Or if the tour starts up in Sacramento for U.S. Women's, then we will probably go to SoCal and hang out with her family for a while.
Okay.
So we would be remiss if we didn't give you a chance to talk a little bit about Discmania. Discmania has a lot of new options this year. What are you throwing, or even at WACO, what did you feel was really helpful in your bag?
Obviously the hard link, the XO hard link is my go-to putter. So that was huge this weekend. I've been putting with it probably the last 8 months or so, and it feels so good to have a big bead putter back in my hand. Just feels super comfortable. Other new discs, the Tiger Warrior from the Active line it's absolutely magic. Every time I throw it, it impresses me what it can do. So that's another new mold that I've added. And then lastly, the Neo method. It's an overstable mid-range, not quite like an MD5, a little bit more overstable than an MD3 or MD4. But those are the three molds that have been added to my bag since the evolution and active line have been announced, and I'm loving all of their new stuff. It's really cool. You know, for a handful of years, I was limited to just Discmania plastic, and now it's opened up like a whole new door of discs that I can throw, and I think it's helped a lot of Discmania players.
Yeah, because I mean, we hear a lot about Discmania, but we usually hear about the Crush Boys. we hear about Simon and Eagle. There's not a lot of Colton talk, but hopefully
there is now.
Hopefully, well,
they ain't winning this weekend. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what, he's got a long time to sit and bask in this victory until the next Pro Tour event.
Yeah, you get to soak it in a little bit longer, as Johnny's saying. Speaking of those guys, and obviously Dana is a regular here on our show, and proximity-wise, we see him and talk to him the most. But Simon, Eagle, did they have any words or congratulations, or what were some of the conversations you had with some of your teammates this weekend, if any?
I lost you for a second.
I basically was just saying, what have you had conversations with Simon or Eagle or any of your other teammates this weekend when you put them all on your list after you whooped them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every single one of my teammates reached out to me and congratulated me, so that was super cool. It was really cool having Simon reach out for the fact that him and I traveled and lived together for part of a year, and I consider Simon one of my great friends on tour. So it was really cool to have him reach out, and Eagle, he sent me some funny messages. He was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Like he was really, really excited for me. And then he made a really nice Instagram post. For people that don't know, Eagle and I grew up about 15 minutes down the road from each other. And, I think back in the day, I was older than Eagle, and Eagle kind of looked up to me. And then as, he got to the top of his career or built, his career, it kind of reversed. I looked up to Eagle, and it was really cool to have him give me shout out as well. And then of course Avery Jenkins, a guy who I've looked up to since the get-go, watched him win his world championship in 2009 in Kansas City live. Really cool. And then obviously my brother working for them and UC and all the big guys. The support from Discmania has been awesome.
Well, I'll follow that up, and we have to talk about, wasn't there like the very next day, did we have a commemorative disc released or a special disc released? Tell us about it and how they can get one. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So, the day after WACO, they released a Glow MD5 with a commemorative WACO stamp, and it's pretty cool because the Glow MD5, I don't think you can't just go out and buy a stock Glow MD5. There's for these special occasions, and I think Eagle and I, maybe Simon, might be the only players with our names on that Glow MD5. So to join that elite company and have like a special run disc come out for me is awesome.
And is that one that is in limited quantity, or can they go out and still get one today? Johnny, I see Johnny V's trying to work some magic here, but tell us about the availability.
I looked at them 2 days ago, and there was quite a few left. I looked at them yesterday, and there was not as many, and I unfortunately have not looked today at what
21, folks, just 21. So if you're listening to this, I don't know, a couple days later, you're probably too late. But it shows right now that there's 21 in stock. So hopefully everyone goes out and grabs one. And I'm hoping as well that they're doing something to give you proceeds or profits or something of that nature to help you out.
Absolutely, they are. And if a Glow MD5 isn't in your wheelhouse, make sure to go check out Alone Howl PD, because that Discmania gave me that as a Signature Series disc last year, being my first Signature Series disc ever. And that was the disc I got both my Eagles with during that final round. So I think there's some magic in it.
And so explain both of those in case somebody's not familiar with either of those molds. Give us a quick review on both of those molds.
MB5 is going to be a very overstable, more probably utility disc for most people. Really good on forehands, fights a headwind. Comparing it to other discs, I'd say it's like a Gator or a Justice, kind of like a Zone.
Yep.
And then the PD it's actually a pretty unique disc. There's not a lot of I haven't thrown a lot of other companies' discs that fly like it, but I do know that it's very similar to a Thunderbird, but it's faster. So you'll get a lot more distance out of it than a Thunderbird, and the PD's got a smaller rim compared to most distance drivers, so it still goes a long way down the fairway, but you still have control of it.
Well, yeah, when we're watching you put it where you did for some of those eagle shots, very, very impressive. I guess, is there anything else that we didn't ask you that we should have? Anything you need to cover or subjects that we didn't think of?
No, I think you guys did a great job. I just
well, thank you. We know
we just ramble.
Actually, there is one thing.
Okay, let's hear it.
Kona and I just came out with our brand new 2020 Hot Cocoa stamp. The top, we've got a wolf because I love wolves, and Kona, the bird, because she loves birds. So we just got this stamped on a bunch of Discmania plastic. In a time of uncertainty, the best way, I think, to support your touring disc golfers, not just Kona and I, but any touring pro out there that you would like to support, reach out to them, ask if they've got any fundraiser stamp discs that they're willing to sell. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, a little shameless plug. But
yeah, hey, had you not, we would have asked that question before we let you go. We always do, and I'll follow that. You're exactly right. I've seen that post or seen that availability. Also, I think Kona with I don't know if it's just if there's a tip that gets included or if it's just a friendly ask, but I know she'll draw on your disc, right? If you put in a special request of sorts. And then I know also you guys are doing a giveaway. So not only are you selling those, but you guys have an opportunity to win. Somebody could win 2 of those in theory if they win on both channels. Is that what's going on? Give us the promo.
These 2 are the discs that you guys can win.
Okay.
To enter the giveaway, you just need to comment on Kona's post on Instagram and my post on Instagram, each tagging 2 friends. And make sure that you're following both Kona and I on Instagram. Pretty simple. And then a week from today, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, we will be picking 1 winner from each page. Kona's giving away a 175-gram Luster FD, and I'm giving away a 167-gram S-Line DD3.
So if they buy one of those, are they going to be able to do something like this right here? This is hole 18 for those of you that aren't watching live. This was one of the best. Amazing.
So the distance is like almost 500 feet, but tell us about the headwind. I mean, I think that was maybe even more of the challenge there on the final hole.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Watching Philo step up, and he just tried to lay up. And it just turned over, and he turned around like, what happened? And then James Conrad stepped up, and his rate significantly turned over, and it actually went out of bounds right. And that was discouraging to watch right before I stepped up.
That's a polite way to put it. Yep. Intimidating, discouraging, for sure.
Yes, very intimidating before I step up and pretty much told myself I'm going for it no matter what. But yeah, you guys give me the chills every time someone brings up hole 18. It still kind of brings back the chills for me. So.
I can show it again if you want.
Yeah, let's see it again. I mean, and not only though, like there's so much credit. You drive for show, putt for dough. There's so much credit on the drive, which is obviously everything you just mentioned. Headwind, clearing the water. That putt was not easy. I mean, it was 3 times the distance where Simon missed from last year. I mean,
Or Drew Gibson.
I mean, that putt is incredible, and this is to ultimately win the tournament.
Yeah, so crazy. I'm very thankful that basket caught my putt.
It wasn't the worst putt. I mean, it was a little low left, but it was good enough.
Hey, it went in.
That's right.
Okay, last question then is regarding the putt, the shot and everything. Who was watching? I mean, obviously you had friends and a lot of people reach out. Were your parents able to watch live? You know, did everybody see it go down in real time?
Yeah, my brother, my mom, my dad, Kona's parents, they were all watching it live. And it's funny, my dad was like, called me before the round, and he's like, hey, like, do you think it's worth me paying the $10 or whatever to get the Disc Golf Network? And I told him, I was like, I'm Chase Card, like, probably not. And Kona was like, it's $10. Yes, buy it. And then, of course, forgot that it's final round, and it was
so
free.
It was free. All right.
Like, oh, thanks a lot for telling me it was free. And I'm like, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's strange times.
Well, it was just, goofy. And for those that don't know, right now the Disc Golf Network plan is to have the first round or 2 or 3, depending on the event, is on Disc Golf Network exclusively, and then the final round of any event on the Pro Tour,
events,
yes, of any event on the Pro Tour will be free and live on YouTube. This just happened to be weird because the second round, which would have been behind the Disc Golf Network paywall, wasn't, and it was on YouTube, but. All right, so one extra disc has to get sold, and that makes up for his contribution. All right, Colton. Well, we can't say it enough. Thank you. Incredible performance. We're honored, along with the rest of the Pro Tour, just to have any part of being able to present it to the world, in a live capacity, and just an all-around amazing performance and great weekend. And thank you for joining us here tonight to talk about it.
Yeah, thank you very much for both of you guys for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. I hope it's not the last time that I'll be on. And lastly, I just want to give a big shout out to Discmania and Grip Equipment and all of my fans out there. The support doesn't go unnoticed. I read every single comment. I read every single message. So it means a lot. And thank you all for that.
Thank you for joining us, and like you just said, it's mainly up to you when we talk to you next. So we hope that we see you sooner than later.
Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get a chance to talk to Kona soon.
Yes.
All right.
Let us know.
Let's make it happen.
You guys travel safely. Be safe. I hope the part-time driving gig comes about in the next 8 weeks. But be safe, and I'll see you on the next wherever the next tour stop is. I'm sure I'll see you there, buddy.
Hey, Terry, I know you know people, so let's get that driving gig set up.
Okay.
Make it happen.
We'll make it happen. Have a good night, Colton.
Good night, pal. That's Colton Montgomery, not Colin, not Austin. Colton, no matter what Nate Doss says on the broadcast.
I will be the first to admit I have not consumed a lot of the broadcasts after the fact, but I have heard per you and a couple others that Nate seems to.
He's hung up on it, and I can understand because there was a time when you just, for whatever reason, just kept calling Simon Eagle and Eagle Simon. It was just, you were stuck, you couldn't get out of the rut, and that is what I feel like Nate was in. I don't think he'll be in it anymore after this win, trust me. But yeah, Nate just kept calling him Colin, and Jamie corrected him 2 or 3 times, and finally Nate is like, I know, I just can't stop saying it.
It's like a Tourette's for Colton or Colin.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. But ultimately, Colton won't be forgotten. anymore.
No, just incredible performance and so clutch down the stretch and going 9 under in the last 9 holes,
Amazing.
which included 2 eagles and then 2 pars, and then to ultimately, Paul Macbeth not able to close things out. That at one point that his fate was truly in his hands for how he closed out that event, and he wasn't able to catch him. And Colton of course, there's that feel good of like he played so well and worked so hard, and then came in off that chase card, and clearly an underdog, and taking it down. Just it makes for such a great story. So congratulations, and as I've said before, I see him and Kona out there grinding it out on tour and very active on social media. So please go out, follow them, support them. Go to a hot cocoa event if they're hosting one, or pick up a hot cocoa disc or 2 or 4 or whatever you need, and also make sure you check in to see if you can maybe even win one. I was gonna say if you win one of those 2 in the giveaway, then you should just buy another one. So it's like
you need a pair.
Yeah,
you can't just have one.
Yeah, but you buy one get one free. If you put yourself in that position, it helps them, and you're still making out on a heck of a deal. So,
and he brought up a really good point, and we'll just reiterate this. Right now can be a little tough for some of our touring pros. If you have the resources and you want to buy a disc, make it a Tour Series disc.
Yeah,
just take the extra couple bucks, help out a Tour Series player who might possibly need this. I mean, if you're going to buy a disc anyway, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it just, please help, if you can, help support. If you can't, we understand there's a lot of crazy things going on right now with jobs and economy and environment. It's a really silly time right now, but do what you can.
Well, and I'll piggyback on that for a moment. I had a conversation with Sarah Hokum today on the phone, and she kind of touches on a few of those points. One, if there is something going on where you can still support them, whether it's a disc or a Tour Series disc or directly from them or a website, whatever, certainly make sure you do that to reiterate that. But then also, she had stated today, because I know she's a hustler and a worker herself, she said, if there are jobs or side gigs or whatever that you or your company have available, and there's a touring pro or a handful of them or whatever, she'd love to know. And I think that's really great, because for all we know, someone in Texas right now is listening. Maybe they're near, maybe they're not.
They need help with a roof or
whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. So I think there are a lot of our touring pros that are a little bit uncertain, and I don't want to say they're going to be bored, because they'll practice and such and do other things, but I think there's plenty of them that would be like, yeah, I'd love to have a side gig for a few weeks, or something that they can really get invested in and earn some money that way. So,
and it's really tough, because a lot of times we just say something like, oh yeah, they can just run a clinic or have some have some not clinics,
lessons.
But lessons, thank you, things like that. But even that can be a little scary. Because you don't know
correct, yeah,
what you're bringing into that, and you want to try to keep it, all of the numbers to the right amount and things like that. So as much as it's tough, because a lot of times I like to be the one that says, well, you know what, they chose this life. That's kind of this is the type of thing you need to deal with. This is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, and you nailed it right on the head there, where people talk about clinics and lessons are kind of a go-to. That's just not as appealing right now as it is. Sarah did mention tonight they were already committed to a glow and throw that her and MVP, her sponsor, put on tonight. They're down in Alabama. I think she told me it was Foley, Alabama. That was happening. It's happening probably as we speak right now. She said this will be the last thing, though, that she's going to run for a while. So I think she said there were 40 or more people signed up. She was expecting kind of a sellout crowd for it. So hopefully that's all gone well or is going well. But after tonight, it just seems like the landscape continues to change and evolve, as we all know. So if you've got a gig or a side job or think somebody might be a good fit for something, reach out to either the pros or get in touch with Sarah's a great organizer. I learned that in Thailand when she organized one of our boat trips. She'd be a great person to reach out to, and I'm sure we can find where all our pros are and what they're doing. So thought I'd pass along that great suggestion from her today. And then I kind of followed that up in a semi-serious, semi-not serious way. I said, assuming the IDGC, the International Disc Golf Center, is open, where our PDGA headquarters are located down in Appling, Georgia. It's on the east, side of the country, I realize. But wouldn't it be great if there was some project, our pros, I said a course cleanup project, that's maybe a little generic, but wouldn't that be great if there was something outdoors? Because that was where Sarah really hit home. She said, I've got landscaping background. She said, I'm versed in a lot of things, but a lot of us are outdoorsy people, landscaping backgrounds, things of that nature. So those jobs would be even better to have. But then that's what led me to think, man, like it'd be great. The IDGC doesn't need a new bench on every hole, but think if it did, like what a great project that a handful of our touring pros might want to tackle for, some period of time. So I don't know. No one said I was clever, but that was one of the ideas. No one's ever accused me of being too smart. That's for sure. All right.
Do we want to get into the after show? Do we want to talk a little bit about the media as far as like the Disc Golf Network and how that went about, or should we kind of...
let's touch on a few things regarding, I'll say, the media and a few details there. And then from there, I'll get a little looser. Maybe we'll head into the after show and have even more other random discussion. But as NorCal is, maybe even NorCal Disc Golf on the board is helping us segue about Brodie Smith. Clearly, huge conversation piece this weekend, as expected.
Performed much better than a lot of people's expectations, including, I think, mine. I didn't expect him to perform quite that well. Close, but not quite there.
Yeah, and there was a lot of discussion, some very heated, some not so much, some very patient understanding, again, some not so much, as to Brodie being placed on that feature card that we saw during that first round. And then, like you just mentioned, we watched him play, and he shoots a 3 over par, and... Or was it 2? Sorry, 2 or 3?
I think it was 2.
And
2 and then an even, I believe.
And plays a pretty solid round.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people were silenced in the sense that they're like, wow, he whether you call him good or not terrible, or he didn't fall on his face, or every positive to negative in between, he, like you mentioned, I think reached or outperformed what most people thought. And I think that helped silence a lot of the criticism out there. Now, the original, things changed, but the original format or projection really for this weekend was that Disc Golf Network exclusively hosting the live broadcast of the Brodie Smith feature card. And assuming it was going to be 3 events, we were then going to see the second day also exclusively hosted on the Disc Golf Network, but the lead card would be covered by Jomez and then released in a post-produced format the next day, as they typically do. The third and final day would typically be live and then also post-produced by Jomez. Now, as it got shortened, there was obviously just the first and second round, but there was a big uproar and clamor, depending on what side, how you look at it, to see Brodie Smith's opening round. Second round, he was not then on the lead card, but to see his round in a condensed or post-produced format.
I think I said it last week when I said it was 100% a business decision.
Absolutely. And we talked about a Brodie bump, which 100% worked.
To put it in perspective, and I don't know if a lot of people know these numbers or not, because I know they're out there. After the Memorial, we had 1,500 subscribers to the Disc Golf Network. That was what I kind of expected us to hit by towards the end of the year. Forgive me, disc golfers, for saying I didn't have a lot of faith in the fact that people would pay to watch live. It's just the history has shown us that there has been not the enthusiasm. About a week before the event, they were at about 4,500 subscribers. When Brodie was announced, it jumped up to about 6,500 subscribers. Now, it's really hard for us to judge what is the quote-unquote Brodie bump, because it could be a lot of people wanting to see Brodie. It could just be people realizing, like, oh, crap, I can't watch this live, and I want to.
Yeah, I can't watch the first or second round live.
The event, the
period.
first couple of rounds. So it's very difficult, but it is absolutely amazing as to what the Disc Golf Network has been able to accomplish right now. And hopefully they can keep that momentum going. It's going to be tough over the next month, 2 months, 3 months. I know there's talks about things going on in the background, smaller, very small type things that we're still discussing, and it's going to be very difficult. But what an amazing weekend in general for disc golf, and with Brodie being on the card, and the discussion about post-production with Brodie's round. Nowhere did anyone say that there would never be a post-production round.
Correct.
It was just, if you want to watch Brodie's first round live, it'll be on the Disc Golf Network. There was always kind of a subcurrent or an undercurrent of the fact that they kind of assumed that this would be put out in a post-production form of some sort.
At some point, but not necessarily either openly discussed and or with any form of deadline or expectation.
Correct. There was no deadline expectation. There was never. Well, and I'm not. I have a lot of. You and I both know a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. Let me tell you that this happened way quicker than I expected. I truly believe that this COVID, that the coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, really expedited that, because the media crews after WACO, they ain't got a lot to do now. So we were able to put resources into that after Brodie asked for, say, hey, let's look at doing this. I know there was there was a little bit of talks beforehand. I don't know if anything was ever truly ironed out, but ultimately, with the media crews having more time, this could happen a lot faster. So for those of you that want to know, on the Disc Golf Network, the post-production is out there, I believe, and it is also out, I believe, on Brodie's channel as well on YouTube. So if you want to watch the post-production version, that is out there.
Now, is that also, I know you just mentioned that, I did not realize that it was released on the Disc Golf Network channel.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know if it's officially released, but I saw it uploaded there, so they might not have put it live yet.
Inside secrets here,
Inside
folks.
Secrets. It will
Exclusives.
be there, I promise, because it's just... I was on the website earlier today, and I saw that it was there, but I don't necessarily know if it is completely, if it's finalized yet, or if it's going to have an exclusive time on Brodie's page first, or how that works. A lot of the post-production stuff you and I have zero involvement in. We're mainly on the live. We do hear a lot of it, but we don't necessarily have any sort of input or involvement in it.
Yeah, so, and I know that's a lot of the chatter that's going on the board, and again, we are not privy to the details, the inner workings, the agreements, the negotiations, or anything of that nature, but I will just admit that I was a little surprised, and I know you just said resources could be reallocated, and there's a timing that that possibly got expedited here. I was personally surprised to see the Brodie Smith round one condensed into a post-production format with Brodie and Paul, who did the commentary, I think, right away on Monday, doing the commentary and then having it released on Brodie's channel. I was surprised, I think is a fair word for me to say, that I did not expect it to see. I expected to see something of that nature, probably, but even if I would have projected that, I wouldn't have projected it to be so soon.
Correct.
And every decision that gets made is obviously thought out by a lot of different parties and stakeholders. That was a decision made by the Disc Golf Network. Obviously, Brodie very involved with it. And and we don't know how it got there, and the timeline that it took. But I was personally surprised to see it happen in such a quick fashion. So, but it's out there, it's available, and I'll say understandably, some people have expressed frustration, saying,
I paid for this and now
I
it's out
paid
there
for it,
free.
and now it's out there for free.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I believe
I'm not saying I said that.
No, I know.
I'm
But in
reading.
general, the sentiment, you paid to watch Brodie's round first and foremost.
Live.
You
Sure.
you paid to be part of that experience, to be on, if you want to be on the UDisc chat, but you paid to watch that as it happened, not necessarily to have exclusive access to it. I know on some of the web boards I was part of, I had always said nothing has been decided yet, and that it could come out in the future when there's time. And again, things are going to get. I don't want to be put on blast here, but
Don't say something stupid then.
I might. There's a lot of people out there saying that, like, Brodie's the best thing to happen to the game in a long time and things like that. And all these new eyeballs that we're going to be getting from Brodie and this and that.
And have been getting.
What bothers me the most is people throwing out these social media numbers that he has a little bit.
Okay.
He's got 2 million YouTube subscribers and this and that. I've looked at the numbers of his YouTube views for disc golf. They're getting very similar, maybe a little more than what Jomez is getting. And granted, we have to look at it like Jomez is specifically disc golf. So
Sure.
we know that disc golfers are going to watch that because they're probably subscribed. Brodie has a wide swath of fans, and maybe only some of them are interested in disc golf.
Absolutely.
And hopefully he brings in more eyeballs. But from what I've seen so far, he's good for the sport. It's really good to have him do this stuff. But I don't know if we're going to see the type of exposure that a lot of people are predicting from Brodie. I think that I believe 100%, I believe he's good for our game. I believe he's bringing extra eyeballs. I don't know how many, though. And there's no good way to judge this, because I have seen people say, oh, man, that looks really awesome. I think I'm going to try that. And I assume if I see one on social media, it's probably at least 5 people that are thinking it or doing it, that only one on social media is putting it out there. But I'm just not 100% sold on the whole concept. I'm sold on Brodie. I'm sold that he's on the game and that he's going to be good for us.
So you're essentially,
I just don't know how much.
To really paraphrase this, you're essentially saying he's got a bigger social media influence, but it hasn't fully followed his disc golf career yet.
100%.
And my rebuttal to that would be, if he has, we'll say, equal or slightly better than Jomez response or numbers so far, I would go ahead and say almost the opposite of you and say, if we went from having one Jomez channel that's large and successful and then overnight have a second Jomez channel that's Brodie Smith's channel that's as good or better, I think that's a tremendous impact. And I know you're not negating his impact,
not at all.
But sure, I firmly believe as well, out of 2.2 million subscribers that he has, I don't expect all of them to tune in and watch his YouTube channel, because he created that channel around Ultimate.
UDisc Josh on our board says Jomez views tend to be more from existing disc golf fans. Brodie fans tend to be more from future. So how do you know? Honestly, because Brodie has been in the sport, so clearly he has disc golf fans now. We have seen it. Mm-hmm. Go to any social media board and just mention the name Brodie, and you already have 1,000 people screaming about how he's fantastic for the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to dispute that. But how do we know that the 100,000, 150,000, 180,000 that are watching his videos aren't the same 130,000 that are watching Jomez? We don't know that.
We don't know that. However,
we can see that he is positively impacting the game. And I
think there's a reasonable expectation that many of his views are coming from his subscriber base.
Well, of course, but how many of those overlap with disc golf? I mean, disc sports in general. I mean,
yeah, but if he had 2.2 million before he threw a disc,
sure. And now he has 2.3 million because he gained 100,000 subscribers from disc golf, and he's still only getting 100,000 views. I'm saying we don't know.
I see.
I truly hope we're getting a ton of new eyeballs on the sport. I just have a couple things. I have a couple issues. One, we'll never know.
Of course,
unless, especially now with this Corona thing, in that like you could maybe take a look at the disc golf PDGA memberships and maybe say, oh, was there a bump in 2020 because of the Brodie factor and this and that? The problem is, unfortunately for us, this whole environment now has skewed everything.
Sure.
This year, you might as well just kind of all the statistics, all the information, you might as well crumple it up and throw it away because it's going to be almost useless in the grand scheme of things. So,
yeah, but I mean, to be fair, from a marketing perspective, you're almost you could make the same equivalent of saying, hey, Coca-Cola's up on that billboard. How many people do we know went out and bought a Coca-Cola today? Like, it may not truly be a measurable statistic.
You can never
good
measure
or bad.
Advertising. It's very difficult to measure advertising in or out. So,
well, again, great to see. He clearly has he's had an impact, like you're suggesting, both inside and outside the sport. You saw the enthusiasm in his play. I really enjoyed talking to him. I think it was mid-round during the second round, and after his first ever round. And for as much taller and athletic as he is than me, it still kind of feels like I'm. I mean, he's tall like you. That's about it. I don't want to say it was like talking to a kid, but his enthusiasm was fresh and kid-like in that it's so fresh. And so it's awesome. Brodie's on the board, and he just chimed in actually on our live YouTube set and said, just a heads up, I'm just getting started.
And 100%, we've had Brodie on the podcast, and I'm really excited for some of the things that he is going to be able to bring to our sport. Like I said, never would I say he's not bringing extra eyeballs, because I truly believe he is. And I hope it continues. I hope that we are able to see. I hope we see everything that we ever hoped. Everything, like Brodie can bring in external sponsors. I hope that happens. I hope Brodie brings in a huge new audience of people that love disc sports, or people who have never thought about disc sports. I hope he brings in his short-lived Fortnite fans that came in. I mean, there's so much I think he has to offer to our sport, and I'm really excited for the future. I'm really disappointed about COVID. There's so many conflicting feelings that I have right now.
You don't like worldwide pandemics.
I'm usually anti-pandemic. If I had to take a choice, I know it's a hot take at this point, but I'm anti-pandemic. I'm especially anti-pandemic when I used to think, oh God, cool, if everything gets shut down, I'm going to go play some golf. And I can't even do that in Milwaukee now.
No, well, yeah. Okay.
I have to go.
And I will gloss over, because I just firmly believe it's not worth beating to death. I will gloss over one of the other big hot topics from the weekend with regard to Brodie and his playing. Brodie, there was a conversation piece that took place about, we'll say, maybe even Brodie's intentions, and
I think all that's been cleared
all
up.
of that's been cleared up. And I guess as a follow-up to that, just tonight I saw a tweet that said Brodie was also on the Ultra World podcast.
Oh, he gave it to Jamie hard.
And and some of the source of, maybe we'll say, animosity that was out there, Brodie made a tweet saying that he and Jamie Thomas had a great conversation, and I'm sure you'll be able to find all of that on the Ultra World podcast. Apparently, I mean, if there's one thing Brodie's going to do with that, it's that he's going to bring to light there are apparently other podcasts besides ours.
No, there's not.
In disc golf.
I don't see him on anybody else's podcast chat board. He's on ours. So if you're listening to this and you want to just hang out with Brodie, you need to come in every Tuesday night, because I guarantee you he'll be here every week.
He's got nowhere else
to be on Tuesday nights.
And earlier, I forgot to mention to Colton, Brodie did put in the chat that Colton is welcome to come up to Dallas and shoot some videos with Brodie. So that would be a great combo to.
That would be pretty great. Commenting a little bit on Brodie's play itself, I noticed clearly he made some rookie mistakes, as he will. There were a few putts I felt he was a little tentative on, and that's natural because you,
Sure.
as a younger player, you're really the comeback is the scary thing. A couple of spots where I was a little surprised that he made some mistakes were his forehand shots.
Yeah.
Like
I thought the same.
Like because we watch Brodie off the tee with the forehand, and he's very accurate. But when he had to scale back and get those 120 to 180 foot forehands, it was almost like I don't know if he did. I don't want to say he didn't trust the disc, or he just had a bad nose angle, or just maybe old habits. But he tended to throw them left or into the ground a little bit, and needed to get a little more air under it. Because there were a few times I was like, oh, cool, he's got this. Like, he's going to put it right under the basket. And he didn't. Or where I looked at it and went, why aren't you throwing a backhand here? But clearly he's way more comfortable with a forehand.
Sure.
It just, those are the type of things I think he's easily going to be able to clean up. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to eventually get to be like a 1,000 rated player. It's probably going to take him, I would say, till the end of next year. But ultimately, I think he's on course, or on pace for that. And I'm excited to see the journey.
Oh, and that's just it. Is this break, so to speak, in action, is only going to give him more time to very quickly, or to continue to hone his skills. And we all know that when you get into disc golf, and if you've got a good instructor, it doesn't have to be Paul Macbeth, but if you've got a good person giving you tips and pointers and whatnot, it's relatively easy to improve quickly when you're first starting out. And then he already has an athletic background, and he has the time and the resources to play. So he's got a lot of things in his favor,
of course,
I think to see a very quick and continuous climb. I got to really think to spit that one out, but a quick, continuous climb for him.
And honestly, it might be advantageous for him. I don't want to say to play less events, because clearly the more events you play when your skill level is lower, those are hard to get off your record. But if you play and get very good and play limited events, your rating will jump quicker, assuming you play well at the events you play at.
Yeah. Well, I'll admit, whether he's listening or not anymore, a few weeks ago he said something about shooting a video, and I jokingly, well, semi-seriously said, we should collab, and I'll challenge him. And then I watched him play this week, and I'm like, he's gotten better more quickly than I thought he did. So I'm nowhere near as confident.
No, and you just put up a 973 player rating. So after shooting 2,000 rated rounds at your last event,
I'm just saying.
But
he's lucky. I'm old, and I got to commentate. I got a mic in my pocket.
Are you happy to see me?
Yeah, something like that. We'll see if it somehow works out. Maybe we will have a fun round together sometime. All right. Well, I think that's what we saw. The other quick post regarding Disc Golf Network, I'll say, I feel like I saw a post today that stated they're going to try and put up I don't know if it said every day, but new content while this hiatus, I guess we'll call it that. While the hiatus is in place, they want to try and put out new content. I could have swore I saw it say every day.
I'll say this. If it did say every day, that's very, very
aggressive.
Very aggressive. And
maybe it just said often.
I would think it would be more often, because there was already talks of that.
And I'm hoping it's true. People want the content, and also that keeps the subscribers, I don't want to just say happy, but that keeps them coming back for fresh new stuff. And if there's anyone to do it, the Mo and Sam and the rest of the crew there, I think are certainly capable of pulling that off if anyone can.
According to our board, Brodie says, Terry, it's on. Bring it on. So
Let's go.
SmashBoxx is going to fly you down to Texas.
Okay.
We're going to find a cameraman with a live view. I'm going to sit here and do some show switching, and it would be fun. We'll put it. Maybe we'll put it on the Disc Golf Network, or maybe we'll put it on our channel. Who knows?
Oh, so many opportunities.
So many. Well, little do they know it's actually a karaoke contest. It's not even disc golf.
I was going to say there's no way I'm winning that. That would be that one I would just roll over for immediately.
I don't know. I've never heard Brodie sing, so
it can't be worse than mine.
You don't know that.
Okay. Do we have anything else in terms of the media that's
I don't think we do. I think overall the weekend went relatively smoothly. We had we have a nightly call where we talk about what went well and what went bad. And this weekend, we had our ups and downs, and there were some issues, but ultimately things that we'll get over, and we'll make it through.
Okay. Well, I say we can close this out.
Let's go to the
before
after
we
show.
head into the after show. It's just such a rowdy St. Patrick's Day here, folks, which does feel weird here in Wisconsin, at least, and probably where you are as well,
We're
depending on what your local bans and regulations and restrictions are. So we're going to close down before we head into the after show. I've got to, of course, again thank Hannah and Dustin for joining us and announcing here the junior grant winners. I hope I wrote them all down correctly. I typed in Luke, Uriah, Ava, Shelby, Zach, and Caleb. Congratulations to all of you, and congratulations to everyone that went through the process of submitting the somewhat rigorous or extensive application process. As they said, apply again next year if you're going to be eligible and can still do it. Make sure you apply again. I want to thank Colton Montgomery for joining us.
Justin
and,
Menichelli.
of course, our PDGA board president, and Justin Menichelli, giving us the state of the PDGA address that we heard from a little bit earlier.
The exciting state of
a little bit somber, but we'll get through it. So stay tuned for the after show. For Johnny V.
That's me.
I had to think about it.
I know. I don't know why.
I didn't know what to call you. For Johnny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, this has been podcast episode 289. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 289 After
Show. This is the way we roll, we roll.
Here we are, folks. Thank you for joining us on this rowdy
St. Paddy's Day.
St. Paddy's Day 2020. Wow.
It's very strange. I'm sure this happens at a lot of places, but many of our bars tend to open at 5 or 6 a.m. for the St. Paddy's Day morning festivities, we'll say. In Wisconsin, we have a pretty large Irish contingent here, historically. A couple very popular Irish bars. And as of about 2 a.m. last night, it came down that there would be no dining in anymore. All carry out. Not legal in Wisconsin to carry out your alcohol, regardless of what anyone might tell you. So today was actually kind of a quiet day. I mean, I'm sure it's quiet in a lot of places, but it didn't feel like St. Paddy's Day today.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I personally, you yourself also not necessarily partaking in
I never
a
have.
5 a.m. wake-up call at the bar to participate in the activities.
I've left bars at that time. Never went to one.
Yes, not a huge secret. Johnny nor I are really big drinkers, And I would even further clarify that I kind of have a personal rule that if I ever do have alcohol, I'm not ever much of a day drinker. So the last thing I would be doing is be looking to participate at 5 a.m. or 10 or noon. Just like I like my movie theaters at night. That's I like to go to the movies at night. I feel like it's weird to do it when it's
the day with the kids.
I will, but I don't like to. There's just certain things that I feel like fits into certain hours or categories.
I gave that up.
You will almost never find me going into a movie theater when it's still light out. Movies are a nighttime thing. When dark out. Okay, so as always in the after show, one of the most important things that we do is we give away something for our Patreon supporters. So Johnny will eventually...
I'm bringing that stuff up now.
He will work on that. So we'll get to that at some point. We'll be giving some stuff away. Last week, holy cow, we had a disc member box giveaway. We picked the winner, and literally the next morning before I got on my plane, I had already printed out the label and shipped it off. It was the quickest turnaround ever. Lyle
Ross. Big Smashy.
Took that down. So if you are missing anything, that's quite possible from a previous one. I may have skipped over you last weekend when I printed it off. But if you're missing anything, please reach out. I'm never offended. I'm just not on top of some stuff. So please reach out if you have a Patreon something or other coming your way besides the Patreon disc that everyone has coming their way at the $3 and above Patreon level. So I'm going to read a few things off the board while Johnny does that. First of all,
I'm all set now.
Well, Jeffrey says, I'll recognize Shelby, and I very well may. I apologize. The name just off the top of the head thrown at me tonight. I didn't at first, but if Shelby's been at events, hopefully I may recognize. So Jacob, who I haven't seen or heard from in quite a few years, I think is still in Wisconsin here, asked, what are the odds of the Skyline Classic actually getting played? Now,
I give it a 30%. Wait, when is it?
April 18th.
Oh, I give it 10%.
10%. Okay. Wow. Johnny's...
I thought it was late April.
Okay. So for those that may not know, the Skyline Classic, PDGA B tier, presented by Innova on the Wisconsin Disc Golf Tour. It's an event that I have traditionally run for the last 6, 8, 10 years, whatever. And this year, Ryan Pilcher, along with Tom McManus, who celebrated a birthday yesterday, are officially the TDs on file because that is, in fact, the same weekend as Jonesboro. Well, Jonesboro, we know for sure is not happening in terms of a regular stroke play Jonesboro Open presented by Play It Again Sports. Or
on that date.
Yes. So that means I may be available to help run the tournament that I'm an assistant for. And 2 rounds, 2 great courses, all in one day. We opened up the registration on Wednesday while I was heading to Waco, and now we're just a couple spots from being sold out. However, it may either get outright canceled or it may get postponed to a later date. So I'm right there in the thick and the mix of things. You know, we're talking about all these big events, but Wisconsin and the rest of the country, of course, talking about regional and local events that are all in that limbo stage right now of, I mean, you just gave it 10% chance.
I give it a 10%.
April 18th
and
is
I registered for it, so I want to play it.
But April 18th is right now is listed as the date, and that's in southeastern Wisconsin. Andrew Marweed is one of the higher-rated players. I saw he just signed up in the Open division, so that'd be great to have him come over from Michigan. But yeah, all I can say to you guys is I hope that it happens, and I hope that we can successfully run that event that day, and we'll keep you posted as best as we can. 2 giveaways Chris is asking for. Second is for everyone viewing right now. Ooh, Chris.
I don't know about that, Chris.
What are you giving away, Chris? That's what I'm confused about. Dan Harbeck is on the board, also coming in from Northern Illinois. Hope you're well, Dan. I think Dan was a super chatter earlier, along with Disc Golf Comedy.
He was.
Thank you to both of you.
Guys. Much appreciated.
Keith Vance says, my local leagues are canceled till further notice. Now, well, I'll just reiterate quickly. Any PDGA leagues that are happening that are governed by, or I'm sorry, sanctioned by the PDGA.
Are no longer sanctioned.
Yeah, are no longer sanctioned. Now, whether or not they're still happening is entirely up to your local TD and the local municipality and Park and Rec Department or whomever. But there are no sanctioned events taking place for at least these next 15 days. So just be aware of that. Trevor says that missing Jones. Yeah, you love watching Jonesboro.
Jonesboro is a really fun event to watch.
Great
and
course,
a lot
great
of people
people
are missing it.
Great signal. Yeah, yes. Cody says, I'm a mix. I have 5 tourneys paid and registered that I haven't withdrawn from. Yeah, and this will be my kind of PSA about all of that is if you're not desperately needing the refund for any given event that hasn't been canceled, just kind of wait and see. I mean, if you can do that, just wait and see because it might be a pain later to register or not register. And what I already worry about is someone saying, well, I thought the event was going to get canceled, so I asked for a refund, and then I went back to register for it like a week later, and then it was full, and it's like, just a little patience for everyone that can afford to have the patience. I would say that would be my suggestion. John Brown TV out of the West Coast says 260 watching and only 37 likes. Come on now. Hit that thumbs up. Oh, some jerk hit the thumbs down. But we are up to 40, so we appreciate that.
Thank you very much, guys. It is appreciated.
Smashbox, or the Disc Golf Guy, reached out to ESPN to sell some content. We have not. But if you sell some, let me know.
I would not tell you. I would pocket that in a heartbeat.
I would never hear about it. When my face is on ESPN and my dad calls me and says, oh, holy cow, I do love you. You made it. No. No.
I do love you. Wow. We went some deep psyche right there. Some daddy issues, huh?
No.
Lay down on the couch and let me tell me about it.
Someday, Dad. Every time there is a clip that makes it to ESPN, though, my dad always says, well, where were you? You know, and I've told him, like, well, I was behind the camera, actually, or whatever. Yeah. Like,
just off to the left. You just can't see me.
I was either behind the camera or working the camera, or I edited the clip together that sent it to ESPN. Like, I'm doing work here, Dad.
Yeah, this ESPN right now is actively looking to broadcast we'll say non-mainstream sports. I think if you had a CCDG or a Jomez, they might be able to get on. But even so, that is a unique situation because the way they would have to, first of all, they'd have to probably recut their footage.
Yeah, strip any and all commercials.
You would have to retime it specifically probably for broadcast TV. For those of you that don't remember, we had a deal with a company, God, it was probably 4 years ago already, on it wasn't CBS Interactive, where I actually sat after events and cut them down to put them on their cable access channel or something along those lines. And so like every 22 minutes or something, I had to have a commercial. You have to have X amount of commercials. So a lot of that would
blank space, black space, right? All that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Like 1 second of black space where they would put in the commercials. That all would have to be re-edited more than likely. So the odds of seeing that are limited unless Jomez, and not that they got anything else going on right now, anybody does. The odds of seeing that are slim, but it could happen, and that would be really awesome to see something like that happen.
And speaking of coverage, one of the pieces that unfolded today is specifically impacting, obviously, the players and the sponsors and whatnot, but there was a question about the Throwdown the Mountain still happening this weekend. And that I say that because it was one of the biggest events that was still on the schedule for this upcoming weekend. And Mike Barnett and I were in talks every single day for the last 5 or 6 days as to who was coming, who was signed up for it, who would be withdrawing. And he's in a really tough position in that that is a private piece of property that he essentially rents out from an individual now upwards of a month, and then the hours and dozens of hours or hundreds of hours, man hours, that go into getting the course prepped and playable for the month that is used. It's not just like, oh yeah, hey, we're not playing in this city park this weekend, let's postpone it 60 days. Like, this is a totally different beast because of the effort that goes into developing and creating this course and making it playable. And he was kind of all systems go. He did a little bit of informal light polling with a lot of the participants, and he had 135 people. At one point, Macbeth said he was withdrawing, and at another point, Paige eventually said she was withdrawing. But as recently as this morning, Sarah Hokum signed up for it and was ready to go to it. And then the PDGA this morning also then came out with the announcement about the sanctioning. At that point, Mike entertained the idea of being non-sanctioned, which, again, it's still a great event with this crazy great payout. But when it was all said and done, lawyers, this, that, insurance, and then just overall health and safety. He made a post this afternoon or early afternoon saying that unfortunately it just was flat out being canceled. And I don't think anyone doesn't understand that decision. It just was really tough. And I'll personally admit I was super stoked to go there. I've been at the Throwdown, I think 5 out of the last 6 years or 6 out of the last 7 years. It's a really great course and a lot of fun, and has provided some really, really amazing content over these years. But Mike having to do what was best for really everyone when it was all said and done. So just crazy. It's crazy to keep seeing these fall and then to know, oh yeah, I'm helping with an event in a few weeks, and it's 100% in limbo. So all right, what else is out on the board? As Cody says, Smashbox, I just had an idea for Disc Golf Network for future subscriptions. Add a player's pack, maybe a base level DX stamped disc with your subscription.
That was actually talked about very early on when we were putting that out, and I do want to say that again, Terry and I have input into this, but final decisions are made by Jeff and Todd Rainwater. And there was a talk about a disc or a T-shirt or a polo or whatever you want to put out there. That gets really tricky when you have people that register and then leave and sign up, and whether you sign up for the subscription, how many months, do you sign up at a higher rate? It adds a lot of complexity into what you want to do. And I think in the long run, they just scrapped the idea because of just all of the extra things that you then need to make sure to ask for addresses. As I don't know right now if they do that unless you, I guess maybe with the credit card subscription, but I'd have to go into the back end of the system and look and see if I can even see addresses. But it does add a lot of complexity, and I think overall it was kind of just frowned upon as in, let's just try to let this stand up on its own.
Yeah, and I think with the progression of what's been going on so far this year, if that momentum continues, I think we will see maybe a few different subscription levels that could get offered. Well, maybe that's the start of 2021, or it gets tied into other things. Maybe have it even more integrated with your PDGA renewal for next year. Just thinking out loud, there's a lot of different ways that they could go about it. And then maybe at that point, it's easier to say, okay, here's our four price points, and one of those price points does come with a supporter pack or whatever. So you're certainly on the right track of an idea that's been discussed. It's just a matter of at what point will that get seamlessly integrated. So certainly a good call, though. John Brown says, I'd like a Terry and Johnny V headshot with my PDGA membership. We'll just get our pictures put on your PDGA card, so when you show up,
that's a good call.
You can. That's
the
probably
official
not a good idea.
podcast of the PDGA. And there's poor Steve Hill, like, what? I'm on the PDGA podcast. Like, well, what can you do, Steve?
I will follow that up. Unintended segue. I did see a post from Steve Hill's counterpart of the PDGA podcast, that is Sarah Lamberson.
Sarah Sinclair.
Or Sarah Sinclair, as she is now known. she made a post in the last week or so just saying, hey, I think I'm officially stepping aside from competitive disc golf and focusing on disc golf.
For a while.
She's been very active in fitness regimen and routines and working out and all those types of things. She's been taking it very seriously if you follow any of her social media. And then later today, she posted that about a week ago. And then earlier today, she posted and said, so maybe it wasn't such a bad year that I decided to take a little break from disc golf. So
just worked out.
But hopefully we continue to see or hear her on the podcast.
Let's give something away.
I'm good with that.
For those of you that don't know, if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so on patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. For as little as $1 a month, you can be eligible to be put into our weekly drawing for a prize, a gift, a package of some sort that would show up in your mail when Terry Miller gets around to it.
A pair of late 1990s sunglasses,
or
knockoff Nike sunglasses.
A pair of knockoff 90s sunglasses. I got you covered. Once again, that's patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. We've got different level tiers there. I will say this: if you have right now, if you have the extra scratch,
no one calls it that.
Everyone calls it scratch.
No one calls it.
You got the extra scratch.
I ain't jiving with that, bro.
Go buy a tour disc this month. Honestly, it support the pros. I would love it if you were a Patreon supporter, and we have all sorts of awesome stuff that we offer. But ultimately, this is one of those months where I just think, go buy a tour disc, guys. go help somebody out. But ultimately, yes, you can do that at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. And we have 203 people this week that are eligible for our giveaway. Terry Miller, how many people should we?
What number should we pull? I think it's only fitting that here in our third or fourth year of being at WACO, and it being the second stop on the tour this year,
and the first big win by
Colton.
No,
and
Colin. I'm gonna call him Colin.
And he's one half of the Hot Cocoa team.
He's one half the.
He's one half of the and he is one half of the team. His first Pro Tour victory, and and Brodie's first Pro Tour appearance. So 1-1, that clearly makes two, folks. Yeah,
Second number. So that's a great way to get to it. Our first number that we generate is 77. Our second
Johnny,
number.
how did you
first names
arrange
second
them?
Number is 187.
So if your name is Colton, your chances aren't good right now.
No, it's not. It's Timothy Donegan.
Timothy
Donegan, congratulations. You are our Patreon winner this week, and we will get that information to you. You are a patron at the $10 level.
Oh, don't bust him out.
I'm gonna. Thank you very much, Tim. It's much appreciated. I have just another couple days to get a design finalized for our clothing level to make sure that we get that sent out to everybody. For those of you that don't know, if you are a Patreon subscriber at the $10 a month level, I send you a t-shirt, a unique t-shirt every month.
Not just a t-shirt sometimes.
True.
You send
I did a polo one time, which was a very nice polo, but I think this one will be another t-shirt. And if you want to also support us, you can go out to our SmashBoxxTV page on the internets and look at our store. We've got a couple t-shirts out there right now. We're going to put more out there as we continue to expand and grow this, as disc golf continues to just thrive in the next couple months.
Yeah.
It's explode and blow up and all that other stuff that it's not happening.
One thing.
No, it's never one
going
thing.
way off of disc golf here for a moment. One thing I will say, and this isn't meant to sound like a
it's going to
a whine or a complaint.
Oh God, is probably going to for sure.
In this realm of I don't want to call it lockdown, shutdown. Of course, you think about what you're going to do with your kids, blah blah, all that good stuff. It's I guess it just proves how lucky and fortunate and spoiled we all are. Like, I think of all the little things that you can do, and when one came to mind, or big things that you do, one came to mind like, oh wow, I'm going to be around. Maybe I could take in like some live comedy. That's something I enjoy
No,
doing.
you can't.
No, but you can't. And I guess we could list the 10,000 things we all can't do. But I even thought of as an old comedy stand-up special was playing, and I thought, oh man, where is this comic from, and when are they touring? That's almost irrelevant now. And then I thought, yeah, but even if they're overseas, and I go over, oh wait, nope, not even overseas. Like,
No, it's called being in your house, Terry.
I know, I realize that, but I was just
Not
it's easy. I guess I think about the local challenges, then the nationwide, and then even the worldwide. Oh man, this pandemic is everywhere.
This pandemic's really cramping my style.
No, I'm not trying to say that.
I know you're not, but it's, yeah.
Pretty incredible. I would like to know in the comments, guys, what is the most creative thing that you guys are going to do in the next week before we even get back for our next podcast? I'd like to know what the most creative thing is that you will likely, I'm going to say at home. It doesn't have to be, but it probably will be. What's the most creative thing that you guys are going to do while you're at home, or some people are at home? What is that? As Christopher
Farr, thank you for the super
you.
chat. Much appreciated.
We appreciate that.
I'm personally not doing anything fun or interesting or crazy.
Let's back that up for 1 second and ask, you are an IT manager.
I am the IT manager at a title company. Which,
whatever that.
Yeah. I 90% of the time I sit around and do nothing.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So you'll do more of that. But you're an IT manager, and a lot of your job can be done remotely.
It can be. I have told my wife, though, that if my company is open, I will be on site because I am one of the upper management at the company, scary as that may be for them.
Oh, my gosh.
And I do feel it sets a good example that if I'm in the office over the last 48 hours, basically since about Sunday afternoon, most of my job has been prepping remote users who normally are not remote users. And I would say 95% of my workforce has laptops, but some users don't have high-speed internet at their house, and you need to kind of talk them through that. Like, hey, if you want to get online, you got to get high-speed internet. Or just teaching people how to use the VPN that have never used it before. Like, it's been there. They've just never had a chance to use it. So that's really been what my last 48 hours have been. And I'm blessed that I'm one of the people where it's like, I don't have to worry at this point about where, if my company is going to just be like, yeah, we're done. As long as people continue, as long as the banks stay open, we will be staying open. And so I will say I'm very fortunate with that. But it's just in general, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Yeah, I caught up on a whole bunch of.
I think you're non-essential, but apparently your work thinks otherwise.
It depends when and where you catch me. There are times I am non-essential. I mean, anyone that looks at some of my Reddit posts is like, "How is he posting at 2 p.m?"
Yeah, what is that guy doing? Daniel Reynoso, official UDisc hype man, asks, "What creative things could touring pros be doing right now to make ends meet?" We kind of touched on that later.
I think a lot of people could be doing video.
Sure.
Maybe some lessons, disc reviews for their sponsors
in the bags if you don't already have one.
Yeah,
much as I hate them all.
I know I'm not. They don't interest me either. But some impromptu.
That's a side note.
Some impromptu in the bags, I think could be very good.
All right. Cody says, getting back to creative things, or maybe not, putt from Circle 2. I think that's a great idea. Skype or Facebook live parties, Keith says. Trevor says, I'm going to add 4 new holes to my home disc golf course. That definitely sounds productive.
See Gray Merchant on our Twitch chat says he's planning on letterboxing and geocaching outing solo by himself.
Okay.
He says, look up those hobbies, other fun things to do while a walk in the woods. I've never heard of letterboxing.
I know. I was just going to ask what that was.
Clearly, I've heard of geocaching. So that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Sam Smashy from just south of us says, work. I'm an EMS pilot flying sick people around until I get it. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, that's
Jeez. Get an important job.
yeah, no
Gosh.
kidding. Cutting trees and brush is what Trevor will be doing to add those 4 holes. Virtual happy hour with some coworkers. I do like that idea.
The dude said he just started The Grapes of Wrath. That's a great book. It was one of my favorite Steinbeck novels when I was in high school. You can basically read every other chapter because if I
What kind of advice is that?
no seriously, if you
Just if you're in a hurry, just read every other chapter of this book.
you clearly
That's just a really funny.
you clearly don't remember The Grapes of Wrath.
I don't, but I will say that is a very funny recommendation.
If God, it's been forever, but I believe the first X amount of chapters, every other chapter had to do with the story. The other ones were like a
just filler pages
no
to meet a
it-
quota.
It was literally like a. I'm trying to think of how the best phrase to use, like a like symbolism for things. It would talk about things that don't relate to the direct story. If I'm remembering the right Steinbeck novel on that one, I don't think that was East of Eden. I think it was Grapes of Wrath. But either way, I enjoyed Grapes of Wrath quite a bit.
Yeah, half of it. All right, Ryan Pilcher says, what Terry should have been doing 20 years ago, I'm putting my disc collection into a spreadsheet
Google it
with
now.
all the details and a picture of each disc. Wow. Yeah, that is something I wish I would have started at any point, whether it was 20 years ago or 2 years ago. I do not envy that, and I think it's safe to say I've got a few more discs than you do, Ryan. But good luck.
That intercalary chapters of the Grapes of Wrath. The intercalary, I don't know what that exactly means, chapters of the Grapes of Wrath, also known as the inner chapters, are the chapters that do not concern the Jodes directly, but provide some sort of indirect commentary on their struggles. So that doesn't actually involve the story of the Jode family, but it talks about other like tertiary things. So thank you very much.
I followed you.
Whatever.
I just still think it's
whoever
a stupid recommendation.
Whoever my it wasn't necessarily a recommendation. It's just an option that you could do. Whoever I believe it was my 11th grade English teacher. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Yeah, you did.
It's such a Steinbeck thing.
Totally. Mike says, I play my guitar every
I'm
morning.
fucking cultured here.
Yes, you are. I know. Rad says, I'm going to see how many hours I can sleep in a week. Hey, some people just need that to keep up. I'm going to keep reading these. I like this. Ryan then followed up and said, I'm going to be able to pull up via Google Docs my inventory, know exactly every disc type, color, weight, and the box where they're stored in. Again, very, very ambitious and a great thing to do. And it's like a lot of things. If you start it early, it's going to be that much easier and better as you move on. That task honestly makes my head hurt just to even think about. I would have to think about which storage area I'd even want to start in.
You have 2 daughters. Get them to work.
The ones that are in my office or the ones that are in my basement or the ones that are at my storage unit, all of them are a massive undertaking at all. So silver lining of this whole corona thing is forcing many businesses to try work from home. That is certainly agreeable. And you spoke on it earlier, just to touch on it. Your situation is a little tougher than some in that a lot of your employees deal with very sensitive things in the title, the mortgage, loan.
A lot of personal information.
And having a VPN and all of that other stuff, not something a lot of other people will necessarily have to deal with. So it adds a layer of complexity.
Most companies do or will have a VPN solution of some sort. It just, they might not be dealing with the private information that we have and some of the banks that we need to deal with. And for instance, a great example, we had a closing. So, whenever you buy a house or property, you come in and sign all the paperwork. A couple came into one of the conference rooms, and then at some point said, oh yeah, I think the story was, we were tested, but we haven't got the results back yet.
Nice.
Because we think we were in an area that a hot spot. And so literally we had to call our lawyer and be like, what do we do? This was on Monday. Like, do we send our employee into that room? So we ultimately closed the deal through the doorway. We would apparently they handed the papers through the doorway and everyone was comfortable with that. And everyone wore gloves and no shared pens, anything like that. But it's situations like this that we're going to have to continue to deal with. Why anyone would do that in general, I don't know, but it is a situation that is going to be very interesting over the next couple weeks and months.
King Heiser says all chairlifts in Colorado are closed. Got a hike for it. That
do some good hiking.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like it. Sorry, as I was reading, let me go back up. I saw another one that I really liked. Galactic says, I'm going to listen to more Bone Thugs and Harmony. I like that. So you dabble, going to way off subject here. You dabble in the stock market, Johnny. So now is your time to give Johnny V's stock market tips for all so that they could cash in all of their discs,
the best
get
tip
money tomorrow, and then do what you tell them right now. Why don't you tell us what that is, Johnny?
The best tip would be to pull out all your money a week ago.
Okay.
I'm not a financial person. Like, as far as giving financial advice, I think it's bad to listen to somebody. Just do what you can. It seems like things are, I would hope, bottoming out. So,
but are they?
I don't know. That's just it. Like, you would think so, and you would think, well, now's probably a good time to maybe to put some money in because it's way lower than it would be if you have the extra money. Now, everybody has lost 30 or 40, 50% of their retirement, their investments, all that stuff, and it sucks. Like, some of us are very lucky that we're in our either early 40s or younger, and we have time for this to come back. But there are so many older people right now that just don't know what the hell they're going to do. Like, congratulations, you just lost half of your retirement fund over the last that honestly has been there, only been there for the last, we'll say, 3 years, but because I believe we're more or less at the point or very close to the point of when Trump came into office. That's how much it has dropped. So I have no financial advice. I can't. All I can say is just invest what you can in what you feel comfortable with, and don't overextend yourself.
What a cop out.
Yeah, they don't tune into Smashbox for financial advice. Remember when I was talking about Bitcoin? It's not doing so great.
That was going to be my follow-up, but I will say tomorrow I'm going to see if there's a few stocks that I want to pick up. I'm excited about it. So Bitcoin, as you plugged and discussed so extensively here on this very show.
I did not plug it.
You did.
I did not. Never.
Don't make me check the tapes that I don't care about.
Go check any tapes, because just like this financial advice, I don't give any. I said I owned a small portion because I thought it was an interesting thing to get into.
Okay, so tell us where Bitcoin is, and if I had, let's just say, and call it what it is. Let's say I had $500 available to me tomorrow.
Okay.
What, if any, blockchain or digital currency would you put $500, or would you put it all into any given one?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know much about the blockchain stuff, but I would just say put it in Bitcoin, because if you wanted to put it into a blockchain type thing,
yeah,
I would just say Bitcoin, because it seems to be the most solid and safe. But I'm sure
it's the one everybody knows.
It's the one that everybody knows, and if there's something that's going to happen, it's going to be with that one. But ultimately, I haven't put any money into any cryptocurrency in years. It's literally just the stuff I have is just sitting there as like just
at about a third of the value it was.
Oh yeah, well, it's still way
What's
more. What's
Bitcoin at right now?
Like $5,000,
and it got as high as 10, right?
It got as high as like 17 at one
Oh
point.
my!
17. But it's still way more than I bought it for, which I think I bought it for $300 or $400.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like a quarter of a Bitcoin or something dumb like that. So I don't have.
So I should buy like 10 Bitcoins tomorrow.
All of them. Buy all the Bitcoins you can. You should just Bitcoin it up, baby.
Okay. I'll follow all this random talking cash here. Should we collectively? And I don't want to get too political, and I know this can easily dip into it, so I'm not trying to get political as much. But I did see a conversation to be had about potentially upwards of a $54 billion assistance, bailout, whatever you want to call it, in the airline industry. My question to you specifically is, clearly small businesses are hurting and going to continue to hurt due to everything that's going on right now. We all know that. I don't think that's I think that's undeniable. The question is, should we feel bad for, like, an industry like the airline industry, when some of these companies make $4 or $5 or $6 billion in profits? Should we feel bad when this year they have a tough year?
No. I mean, you weighted the question and skewed the question by adding that extra stuff. So clearly I think everyone kind of knows your perspective already, but I think I fall along your perspective and say it feels like these companies, if you go through the history of airlines, you can see how they bought back a ton of stocks and gave big bonuses and did not necessarily look towards the future. And so now they are going to be hurting, and it's going to suck for employees. You know, it sucks for a lot of people that are these things. At what point do you decide a bailout is the best interest, or do you just say file for bankruptcy, Chapter 11? It doesn't feel like we should be bailing out anybody at this point, personally. But again, I'm not I'm not an economist. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I literally just want to make my mortgage. If I'm happy when I'm not worried about making my mortgage, but I'm just happy every month when I make it.
No, and I will say,
yeah, let them get a loan.
I feel as if when you're talking about an industry, an industry specific, I only know anything about it because I happen to need it or use it, which is a whole nother point. Is it an industry that is, because it's so needed, so to speak, do we treat it any differently? But
there's multiple airlines.
Of course, there's not just one. But as someone else who used to run the Pro Tour put it,
who could that be?
If we look at the way that a lot of the airlines treat customers and the policies and the procedures that they currently have, it's kind of hard to rally around them right now. When you go to most airlines and they charge you $40 or $50 or $60 to put a bag on, and they charge you $30 or $40 or $50 or $60 for a second bag, and they charge you $400 to change your $300 plane ticket, it's really hard to rally around a company and to want to support a company further when you see some of their policies and procedures. And I know, again, I'm no economist either, of course. I know even less than most, but there's something that irks me about this idea of somehow stepping in to save an industry that, for the most part, I think, treats its customers
pretty horribly,
pretty terribly, and like you said, have probably made other poor decisions in their business practices, but it really makes it tough for me to get behind something like that. Now, here's my last point on it.
All right, Terry's last point, last financial point.
Is there any irony in the fact that an airline industry is clearly struggling? We all know that, and I feel bad for the.
Yep, they've cut back anywhere from 50 to 70% of their flights.
And let me be very clear: I feel bad for the stewardess who are losing their hours, the pilots, I feel bad for the secondary or tertiary people that aren't making these jackass decisions on at the top level. So I'm not picking on them, but how did this coronavirus spread?
Good question. We don't know.
On a damn airplane. Probably. Ladies and gentlemen, there's your culprit.
Probably.
We're gonna bail out the one industry that technically spread, because the only way it got from China to any other country.
Not true, but
at some point it was on a plane.
Could have taken a boat.
Probably not.
But I'm just saying.
You're right. It is possible. It didn't Amtrak from China here to the U.S. So, or Mike says, it could have been on a cruise ship. Probably not. I'm gonna guess it was a plane. All right. What else do we have to talk about?
That went places, man.
I've just been a little worked up, and we all know there's no secrets here. I personally, some people don't care for all their practices, and I'm good with that. I'm personally a huge Southwest Airlines fan.
We all know you're patient zero.
I love how they handle their business. I love so many of the things that they do, and somebody wants to complain about how you stand in line to get, to pick your seat. I'm over that. Mm-hmm. And I get it. They're a low-budget carrier or a medium to low-budget carrier. I love all their business practices that I've had to deal with thus far. And so I don't put them in the same category as some of these other jackasses. So that's where my worked up nature comes from with regards to flying and
I have a movie recommendation for you.
Uh-oh.
Knives Out.
Ah,
very good. I enjoyed it.
Somebody was just talking about it recently.
It's a murder mystery. It's very good.
I hate to say that. I don't
Stars
remember who
like
was just talking
Jamie
about it.
Lee Curtis.
Okay.
Chris Evans. There's a few other people you would recognize in there as well. Daniel Craig.
Huh.
In general, it's a very good movie. I watched it during my Chris Evans marathon.
Okay.
When I watched Captain America, The Avengers.
I was going to say, do I even know who Chris Evans is?
He plays Captain America.
Yeah. Okay.
And I watched Snowpiercer, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which is really fun. And Knives Out, I believe I watched. I think that was the extent
now.
of my...
Didn't Knives Out just come out in the
like last year?
Okay.
Yeah, last year.
Huh. I apologize. It's somebody we were talking to recently, or I was talking to, was very much talking it up, and I don't remember who it was now. But
yep, it's good.
Okay.
It's a fun movie, and it I would say it keeps you guessing, and it's just in general. It's a good murder mystery. It kind of reminded me a less cheeky version of the old TV show or the old movie Clue.
Okay.
Just because it is that type of murder mystery in a big mansion, and ultimately I enjoyed it. So I think you would like it.
That's a pretty big statement.
I give it the Johnny V to Terry seal of approval.
Wow, that is a huge statement.
Don't watch Avengers. Don't watch Captain America.
No.
Don't watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But you would like Knives Out. You might also like Snowpiercer, which I watched as well. It's a more of an apocalyptic end of the world. There's only we'll say 1,000 people left in the world, and they're all on this train, and they have to travel. And the train just goes around and around the world. Every year. It makes one full loop, and how they deal and the how they keep people in different areas. It's not bad. I don't know if you'd love it, but you definitely like Knives Out.
I think the only apocalyptic movie that I would like or did like is Idiocracy. I mean, that was a great documentary.
That was a great documentary. it's a prep for what we're running into. I did like Idiocracy. I should watch that again.
Galactic Conqueror says, liking the Discraft Roach these days. We haven't seen too much, and it will be interesting to see how our manufacturers reply and respond to this. Some of them, which may or may not shut down some offices, all offices, actual production. Will they keep production going, but not necessarily have shipping and receiving and those types of things going? We'll see. We'll have to see how the fallout from all of that happens. I think. And that goes hand in hand with even custom stamped discs, and for the tournaments and who's going to need discs, who's not. And let's be real, there's not going to be a lot of Play It Again sports that are necessarily open, or Dick's Sporting Goods. I mean, if these places aren't ordering the discs, it's just crazy how much this is impacting, obviously the global economy. But then when you think within the disc golf community,
there's been some trading sites that have just basically shut down and said no thank you.
Oh, sure.
I don't know, if I were a purchaser of discs and a disc came and showed up to my house, I might leave it for a few days and not touch it. Like, leave it in the box and just say, cool, I'm going to put this over here for the next week or 72 hours or whatever that may be, just to be safe.
Yeah, and I know earlier in the show when I had showed a Patreon disc to everyone, and I had put a plastic glove on, I will say the exact same thing. I've seen people talking about whether they want to buy or sell or trade more often or less often. When I put together, not just even necessarily the Patreon discs, but I feel like any sales that I'm going to be making over the next few days, just as an additional safety precaution, I'm going to do exactly that. Because I'm going to try and lump them all together in terms of all my packaging and shipping at one time. I'm going to put on a pair of gloves, and I will do exactly that when I'm putting my orders together. So for what that's worth, if you're ordering from me, that's something I'm going to do. Is it absolutely necessary? Yeah, maybe not, but I don't see any harm in doing it.
It's a lot different than what you normally do, which is lick every
'em.
disc.
Yeah, usually if you get a disc from me, it's been licked.
It's been licked.
So just make sure you think of that the next time you lick your finger and then put it on the disc. Yeah, something gross just happened between us. I know we touched on it earlier. Do you foresee maybe some competitive podcasting? No, some maybe BattleBox making a return? Is there something that we could see to keep that? I love the idea of a competitive flow going with some of our players or other media personalities.
I definitely would like to do something, and because we want to keep the podcast going. And so think about this: we have about a month minimum where it feels like the off season, but without any news. At least in the off season, players change, things happen. We got no events. We got no player news, really. So it would be fun to take this opportunity to be able to maybe bring back something competitive for some players. And whether that's a trivia show or we're exploring a lot of different ideas right now. And I think it could be fun to find a way to get those competitive juices flowing between our players and work with them to come on the show on Tuesday nights and entertain and just, promote the player as we always love to do.
I think we should start with couples. Think of obviously in our main show having our guest that was joining us tonight in Colton, have him and Kona, and come up with some kind of game that allows. I mean, we have enough disc golf couples at the moment that I think we could have some game that they would make for some great contestants. And you got to assume they're probably already together, so that makes it a little bit easier logistically than getting two separate people from two totally different places to join. Let's get some of those disc golf couples. Maybe we even add in a challenge to ourselves that if we could make them not be a couple by the time the game is done. We win. We could drive a wedge. Okay, we don't want to do that, but it would be kind of fun. We're open for ideas. If you've got something, please feel free to share them with us.
Talking with a friend of ours on the phone about him and his children. He's got a 15-year-old son. And he was complaining that his son is just crawling up the walls in that he really wants to go hang out with his friends. And I said, do they know how good they have it? You and I, and a lot of people here on the board, and probably listening to this, when we were kids, if something like this had happened, what do? You give your friend a call on the phone, right? That would be the only communication you would really have.
Yeah, at our age.
If
roughly that age. Rewinding all those years ago. Yeah, calling on the phone. You may or may not have had call waiting though. Yeah. Call waiting,
maybe party line if you're lucky.
Yeah, call waiting was roughly getting introduced in my teenage-ish years, and it was a service you had to pay for separately, and it was a really big deal if you were on a phone call because caller ID hadn't existed just yet. That was just around the corner.
Coming.
But to really date this, guys, and then you'd hear a beep, and you wouldn't know. And you could then flip over. You had to press flash or whatever it was on your phone to get over to that other call. So, yes, call waiting maybe.
And I just think, how fortunate they have it that if they want to just hang out with their friends, they just throw up FaceTime. Oh, cool, I can see my friend. He's right there.
Yeah.
And I was just so frustrated thinking, you don't know how good you have it, kids.
Those damn kids.
Darn kids. And which is funny because he had said that one of his kid's best friend, his dad just tested positive. So he's one of the few in Wisconsin that tested positive. So he was all happy. He's like, I made the right choice. I didn't let my son hang out with him. And just it's such a different world that we live in these days, and it's so much easier, I think, now to isolate than it would be. But as we discussed, you, me, 15-year-old, you tell them all the downsides, and then on one side, another side, you put the go hang out with your friends. We're all probably picking hanging out with our friends, thinking, I'm young. What's the deal?
I honestly don't know why the hell I'm within a foot of you.
We have this barrier right here. Don't you see it on the screen?
That's right. This blue barrier that we put up between the two
of us. It's called social distancing.
That's a good call. Yeah, we definitely.
I mean, that's.
No, it is. It is also funny because of the fact that, and I'm not unique in thinking that our kids and adults. There's all these studies talking about how we are distancing, how we are not interacting with one another nearly as much as we used to, thanks to technology and social media and all of these things. And everybody has everything that can be delivered to their house. You've got streaming. You've got all the entertainment in the world. We have all of these things, and now we're basically told, just sit at home. And it's like, that's all we've been building is this fortress of things around us for all of these years. Mm-hmm. And now we're being told, well, just sit at home and lay low and do nothing. And you have all these things at your fingertips, and everyone's like, oh, but I can't be in my house. It's like everything we've been doing makes it more comfortable to be at your house. It's pretty crazy how we've arrived at it. Cody says, idea, attorneys that don't have PDGA sanctioning but still exist for the next 3 weeks. I'll touch on that. I'll say in a little larger concept, whether it's content producers, that would be the number one, I guess, focus, content producers or the players themselves. There is an opportunity to, I know we said, make in the bags or do things like that. You might see some of your exhibition type things play out, like the bag swaps and the
swap bags right now.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Not specifically that one. You're right.
Come on.
The doubles rounds, the match play rounds, the hey, I've the 2-disc challenges. You have your 2-disc and they have their 2-disc. Those are the things that I think some of our golfers will go out and participate in.
Simon would be really
and he's doing that stuff anyway. I think we may see a few more of those pop up. Will you have a full-blown unsanctioned tournament with 20 or 30 or 50 people? Probably not, unless there's some major stakes on the line.
More than likely.
I heard I'm getting a check sent to me.
From who?
From the government.
Oh, maybe.
And then we wager that, you and I.
Ooh.
Just put the checks out. Oh, that's a good idea. We just sign them.
Can I cash the check first?
No. We sign them.
Well, that's no fun then.
Stuff them in the scorecard box for safekeeping. We go play our round, and then we come back, and the winner grabs the checks.
If you can get into the scorecard box, it's locked. It's done. I guess.
I don't know. Put up or shut up. That's what I would say. Being healthy is the best thing you can do. I totally agreed with that. I don't know if we've got anything else, Johnny. If not, it looks like we can wrap things up. We appreciate that you guys have joined us for this long and so much additional rambling here tonight.
Stay tuned in the next couple of weeks. We'll come up with something fun, I promise. We'll make some fun happen. Well, we always do. We bring the fun.
Who gets to judge what's fun?
Us.
Because I think there's some people that
they don't know us.
If they do, I think that could be a problem. We appreciate it. Wash your hands. I got to say that. But practice your social distancing as best as you can. Don't hang out with this guy unless you absolutely have to. But other than that, wash your hands. Take care. Check in on old people or older people. Check in on anyone you love. They don't, or even don't love. I mean, for crying out loud, it could be anyone. Just check in on them and, be a little more patient and kind with everyone else. For Johnny V, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, this has been podcast episode 289 after show. We'll see you next week. Stay safe. Stay COVID-19 free. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smash Box.